All right, let's get going. So, where I left it last time, I just had a horrible crash that had lost me a whole load of work. I have redone that work. One of the great things about doing it on stream is that there was actually a video showing me what I'd done, which was kind of handy. So I was able to reproduce it fairly quickly and easily. So I did, and this is the stage we're at here. We've got a base texturing in place. It's a bit rough at the moment, but it does the job. And we've got some grass, not many varieties, but we've got the basic grass spawners, some bushes, some lowland trees down here, and then a different kind of tree up in the mountains up here. So all fairly basic right now, but we have the foundations of everything that we need. And so in this session, I'm going to add in a lot more detail, make it look a lot more complete. So the first thing that I want to do is, I think my trees are pretty good. I put a whole load of trees in last time, so there's a good variety of trees already in there, I believe. Just checking that. Yep, we have a lot of different trees in there. So I put all of the trees in, I think. So let's go instead straight to the grasses. I'll come back to the bushes later. So in the grasses, whoops, didn't mean to double click there. Never mind, we'll get our way back there in a moment. On the grasses, I only have one kind of grass. Hey there, Richard Smith. I didn't see your note, your things. It came in just before I went live. Welcome. Let us know what you're interested in, and maybe I can focus on that area if it fits what I'm trying to achieve here. In the meantime, I'll just get on with my grasses. I currently only have a couple of types of grass, and they are spawning fairly broadly at the moment. So my gizmos are not on, so I'm not seeing the preview. There we go. That's the first type of grass is spawning in those areas. And then the second, if I change the color on that to something like red, the second is in a very similar area. So we have some dense patches. One grass is a low tufty grass, and the other one is a tall thin grass. So there's not a lot of variety in there. We want to improve on that. It looks very samey. So let's go in and see what other grasses we have in our meadow kit. All right, mostly everything. Oh, that's easy. I can do something that fits into the category of mostly everything. Like playing with spawners, etc. Just interested to see how other people do it. Yeah, I find a lot of people kind of have their methods and kind of muddle along. I certainly muddle along, and I wish more people would share their techniques. Because I'm sure you've got techniques that would be really good for me. So do shout out if you see something I'm struggling with and you think, oh, I would do it like this, then I would love to know about it. So I just want to make these grasses look a little less predictable. So I currently only have the one grass in. So let's have a look. I have forgotten to lock my spawner. Let's lock the spawner. And go, and I'll close that down. We don't need that tab. Open up a new inspector. All right, so this is I think actually this is already the second grass that I have. No, it's not. Okay. In fact, I have the same grass in both. That's interesting. I must have inadvertently connected it back in. Don't even know how the convex and concave thing works that I showed last time. Oh, okay, so you were watching last time. That's cool. I've actually, since you were watching last time, I've actually improved, because I had to redo a lot after the crash, I've actually improved the texturing. If you look here, this is a convex that's going on top of here. So we have the thinner grass texture on the top of the convex piece. And then as it goes down into the dips, we have the more luscious grass. It looks a bit extreme at the moment, but we'll merge those in a little bit more later on. I love doing that with the convex and concave. It just adds a little bit of texturing, and it finds where you have water runoffs and things, you get more lush grass in there. We can probably see some of that as we look around further up at the top later. So let's just spawn with this new kind of grass that we're put on here. Yeah, it does feel more natural, I agree. It's easy to overdo those things though, because it creates completely separate areas. Don't use the curves the way I do for height. Usually put in 2 height masks, one for the bottom boundary and one for the top. Yeah, I used to do that, and actually that was another thing that I changed. When I come back to the bushes later, I'll show you, I actually changed the way I did that, and I actually do use 2 in this new version, although not one for the top and one for the bottom. It's in, well, let me go to it actually, because it was in concave as well. Let me just have a look at that and see if I can remember what I did. I'm pretty sure it was in the bushes. And then I'll come back to the grasses since you've commented on it. It wasn't in the bushes. Where did I do it? Might have been in the trees. That's right. It was in the... Oh, I ended up not doing it. I've still got it locked. All right. Nobody ever makes that mistake, do they? So I do think it was the bushes after all. Collision, strength. No, I didn't use it in the bushes in the end. There we go. We've done it in the lowland trees. So if I just zoom out, I had a problem last time, which I kind of ignored. I had trees spawning under the water. And it was because I'd wanted to put this slope mask in. And that took it all the way down to the bottom. So what I've done here, if I turn this bottom one off, you can see I don't have anything on the top. So here on the slope mask, what you were talking about there, I've stopped it going below the water line and then rolled it off towards the height. And that then allows me to apply this slope mask, which is a multiply, only to that height mask. And then I add in the third height mask, which brings it in up at the top here. And also emphasize some of these spots here. So that's something I've not done before, and I found that to be pretty useful. So it's interesting I have it as a conjunction of the way you do it. Oh, that's a terrain texture. I'm completely misreading. Wow, this is not a good start. Where is it that I did it? I may have actually taken it out. I'm sure it was on the bushes, and I took it out in the end. That's a shame. So I can't actually show you what I did. I played around with it and then changed it with the collision mask. But what I did was I did what I just described. I used the height mask to filter out what was applying the slope mask to. And so the slope mask was applied differently at the heights and the bottom, which was a pretty good situation. Yeah, well, yeah, never. I'm glad you never do that. It's only us newbies that do that and leave things locked and don't even notice it. And then talk about a height map that was actually a terrain mask. How to make volumetric light in the standard Unity pipeline. You can't without buying an asset, or at least I'm not aware of any way of doing it without buying an asset. What I use is an asset called Enviro, which is a weather asset, and it has volumetric lights in it as well. There are volumetric light only assets that are a bit cheaper because they're not bringing the clouds and the weather and all that kind, but it isn't built in. You do need an additional asset for that. If you go to HDRP, of course, that has volumetric lights in it, so you don't need an additional asset there. But if you're looking for something, I strongly recommend Enviro. It's a lovely asset, very easy to work with. I'm just finding you a link so you can go and have a look at some videos on it. Okay, and this link I'm about to post is an affiliate link. It doesn't change the price to you. It does mean I get the price of a coffee if you buy anything from it, but just be aware it's affiliate, because if you're trying to give your money to a different person, then that will overwrite their affiliate. If you want to search directly for it, the name is Enviro, which is at the end of that link there. So that's the tool I use. All right, and I didn't say hi, Pedro. I just went straight to your question. Hi, Pedro. All right, so grasses, that's where we were at, wasn't it? I was just changing around that grass. So somewhere in here there should be that second grass, which was a... Oh dear. I am being very fumbly today. I just closed the... What is going on? That is weird. What's that? Failed to load. And I can't click on it to close it. Let's just put it down here and keep it hidden. No, it's overtaking everything. What is that? Oh, it's gone now. That's one of those weird Unity bugs, I think. Alright. So let's get back to where we were. Find our grass spawner. And go check out how many did we spawn. We spawned a lot of them, so we should be able to see them. Where are they? Grass meadow 2. Yeah. There should be a load down. There's one. Okay, that looks alright. We could probably afford to do with a few more of those and in a tighter clump. Hey, Brian. Okay, we have the expert in the shop. So Brian is one of the Procedural Worlds teams, and so knows everything that there is to know, right, Brian? He can shout out all of the tips and things that I'm getting wrong here. So your work starts now, Brian. Hey, Bob. Good to see you. All right, so let's add in some more on this noise mask. Let's have a look at what we got here. I want to make some smaller clumps of this. So that noise mask is bringing it in where the same place as the other grass. So I'm going to add another noise mask on top of that. And then I can increase the intensity for this particular grass. So I want to make it pretty small patches. So if I go the right way around, there we go. Yeah, you're definitely not off the clock, although it is pretty late. You're based in the UK, right? So it is pretty late for you. So I guess all right, we can let you be off the clock. But if you can shout out any helps, then, you know, always appreciative. Oh, wrong one. It's amplitude I want. There we go. And reduce the persistence. So I'm just after a few fairly small patches of this grass. And I think I'll probably increase the density a bit. Where's the density? Probability rate will do for 1. Location instrument increment is good. Let's see what we get there. Alright, so what we should now have is a bunch of areas where we get a whole load of those. I'm just going to turn off that other grass because it's making it hard to see them. And just respawn that so we only get the one grass. Oh, you're in the US, are you? Okay, well, that's fine. No, it's not too late to be knocked off now. Come on, 10 p.m. It's only a little bit later than me. I'm over on the West Coast, so I presume you're East Coast kind of way. That is the wrong grass. All right. But that does look like a reasonably good spread for this kind of grass. I probably want to put it into the concave bits a bit more. So I want to take that, copy that, I'll put it on the wrong one. So remove that and put it on this one. Let's duplicate that and then paste in the values. And let's go respawn again. So almost 11 for you, Bob. All right. Oh, mountain. All right, yeah. So Bob's East Coast, Brian's somewhere in the centre, and I'm West Coast. And we'll probably have Australia joining us soon. And where are they? How many have I spawned here? Only 3. All right, so that's probably just a little bit too thin. Not hunting over the whole island looking for 3. Okay, my fitness must be pretty high. Yeah, it's reasonably high. Location increment is too high for grass. So what I'm doing here, Brian, if you're wondering why the hell am I spawning my grass as prefabs, it's I'm using HDRP, and for reasons of other things that I'm going to be using, I'm not going to be using Flora. It does the same job as some other tooling that I want, so I'm basically just doing it with game objects. Sorry, trees. So I'm actually spawning my trees as my grass as trees, which obviously is not a great idea, because ultimately you've got a whole load of objects in there. But trust me, there is method to my logic. You should really, however, if you're doing this and not using the tools that I want to use at the other end of the spectrum, you should really be using these as details, terrain details, and then use the Flora system to give them to you in HDRP. Oh, so Richard's here from Australia already. Welcome, Richard. All right, so what am I doing? I'm trying to make sure I get more of these. That's what I was doing. Let's bring that down a bit. Yeah, when you do it like this, it creates a huge number of objects, but your batching goes really low. You know, you save a lot from batching as a result. And if you use it in a controlled way like this, it can be okay. It's not ideal, but once HDRP supports grasses, then my problem will go away. I need to play around with Flora more to see if Flora actually makes my problem go away. I'm actually waiting for the new release to see if it causes it, but it's kind of unique to me. It's not a problem with Flora. It's a unique thing about the way I do things. So this looks good, but I want to get more of these down inside of the in the concave bits rather than up here. So let's go and add a concave convex, and let's visualize. That looks reasonably good already without doing any tuning. So let's just turn that off so we can see what it looked like before. That's what it looked like before. And then we add that in. We get much more concentration in these lower bits. I want it a little bit bigger than that. So I always go the wrong way with feature size. Oh no, I don't. I was going the right way. There we go. And then I'm going to increase the strength a little bit. Like so. So now I'm really going to be concentrating those longer grasses in those drops, but it's also affected by the noise earlier, so it's not going to appear in every single concave bit. Let's have a look here. Not enough, but they've gone from these ridges up here. We're just not getting enough down here. So there are a couple of things we can do there. One is to increase the strength earlier, and the other is to reduce further the... Oh, I went the wrong way. I reduced the probability rate and not increased it. That would not have helped. So I'm probably going to get too many now. Oh no, that looks okay actually. So we have a larger number around here, and it's following that concave bit there. Up here, still got a couple on the ridge, but we have that noise in there, so we're going to get some. I don't quite like that amount though, so I'm going to put this back over this way, just to prevent it appearing on these ridges bits. Well, it won't prevent, but it will certainly reduce. Too much. So this is one of the things that frustrates me when working with these different, you know, a lot of different masks. The interactions between them are often not very predictable. The visualization does a really good job of giving you an idea, but it's still not that accurate because you have so many other settings and tweaks and dials and things. So actually I'm not getting any up here because I've reduce that too far. It's gone completely. So I want it somewhere in between the two. There we go. So now it's here, but not on this ridge in between, which is what I was hoping for. So my tip is always to visualize, because trying to do it by mentally figuring out what's going on just isn't going to work. We have a couple of pieces on there, but that's okay. I can live with that for now. As I said in my first video, I don't spend forever tweaking these things, because this isn't the world that I'm actually going to do it in. This is something I threw together really quickly just to build this. So when you actually put it in the real world, you're going to end up tweaking them anyway. Okay, let's turn those other grasses on, see what we look like now. And what we got in chat. In the future, Richard, good stuff. You got flying cars by tomorrow? Cool. Buy Gaia to $10 in the sale. And better asset for terrain. Yeah, Gaia is, you get it for $10 in the sale. Wow, really? That's pretty awesome. You get a good upgrade price if you ever really want to go to the pro version. Buying the non-pro in the sale, and then buying the pro in the next sale, you get a really good upgrade price, or even in between the sales in that sense. Unreal's realistic. Well, I don't know. A lot of people claim that Unreal is way more realistic and blah, 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 because you keep seeing these lovely shots of what people have done in Unity, but in Unreal. But honestly, you can get very similar results in Unity. Not quite as easily, I think. But if you go into HDRP and you start working with some of these nature manufacturer assets in HDRP, some of the stuff you can create is breathtaking. It's easily as good as what you would see in Unity. The difference, though, is like we were talking about volumetric lighting earlier. You actually have a lot more work to do in Unity. But what that means is you end up with something that is unique to you. Everything that people create in Unreal, I find, looks the same. It has the same controller in it. It has the same graphics or lighting effects and so on. It's just, I don't know. There just seems to be a lot less creativity in the Unreal space. It's pretty. I'll definitely give you that. It is pretty. But I find Unity to be more effective if you're not a AAA and you're not after a particular kind of game, but you're trying to do something a bit more indie. Not a popular opinion, I know. I'm probably just kicked off an argument in chat now. But Richard's too busy with the Jetsons, so we're okay. Richard's not going to bother arguing. Unity's realistic. Unity. Yeah, Unity definitely has the edge in 2D and mobile and stuff like that. I mean, Unreal doesn't even bother to attack that market, I don't think. So there's no question Unity definitely has a better situation there. And then Brian is saying that he agrees, but Brian is biased. Brian works for Procedural Worlds, and they're only in Unity. So we're not going to listen to Brian because this is part of their tooling. We don't need to. I'm using it already. We've got way too many of these things in now, and there's not enough patchiness to this grass. It's just spread around everywhere. But I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'm going to throw in loads of grass at this point, and then I'm going to start trying to get the mix between the different grasses to be more realistic by adding in noises and different filters to each of the individual grasses. So with that, I'm going to do this strange thing of add in a bunch of grasses as, I don't want 4, I just did 4, as terrain tees. Please don't do this on your biomes. Do them as details, and use, if you're in HDRP, use Flora. This is a very specific technique that I use, which is only advised if you actually need it. But other than that, everything else is the same. All the masking and everything remains the same. So the technique remains the same. All right. So do we have a whole bunch of grasses in now? We do. The problem with doing it this way is it's hard to create a cluster of grasses. The only way you can do that if you're not using the detailed method is to, in fact, let's do it with one of these, is to create them as game objects rather than terrain trees. And then you can create clusters inside of the spawners. Unreal is very controlled. Blueprints for what it seems like everything. A lot of what you can do in Unreal, you can do in Unity. Yeah, you can. It just takes more work. That's the thing. And also one of the bugbears, which is why you have a job. You often have to buy additional assets too with Unity, whereas a lot more comes out of the box with Unreal. So you do get, it is constrained, but then the marketplace is getting a lot better. There are an increasing number of tools over there that are getting better. And then, yeah, as you say, it takes a lot more time, but you end up with something that is very unique. And so I like that approach. I'm not liking what I'm doing with this grass, though. I'm really finding it quite horrible, to be honest. I should really be placing this by hand because of the limitations of spawning them as trees like this. I think I am going to go to the traditional way of doing it and hope that the next version of Flora fixes my problem. So let me just turn off this spawner. Oh, I've done it again. I've got it locked and I'm wondering why I can't find the stuff that I want. Turn off this grass spawner. Rename that as grass as trees. And I'm actually going to create a new spawner that does it the proper way. Because we have Brian in the chat, and one reason I've not been using Flora is because I don't know it very well. It's supposed to be dead simple, but I was on stream and I didn't want to learn on stream. But Brian's in chat, so he can tell me what I'm done wrong. We'll say that the engine itself, Unreal, seems more advanced, giving you the abilities out the box. Unity lacks it in this, but yeah, that's where the asset publishers come in. Yeah, it is. It's good and bad. I mean, people say, "Oh, well, it's free," but if I look at how much I've spent on assets, yeah, it's not free. There's no way you can pretend it's free. The actual engine itself is free, of course. So I'm going to call this one Grass as Grass because I like a bit of tautology. Let's create a spawn rule. Let's go with terrain details. Let's go with the Meadow 1 detailed object to start with. And let's crank up the density. Oh, I need to just clear out everything because I've got all those terrain trees that are grass. So I'm just going to start from scratch here. All right, and go back here, and let's just put it everywhere, just to get us started. Now, fit to terrain, spawn. All right, so that's going to be on the cliffs and everywhere at the moment, but that's easily fixed in just a moment. Just want to make sure I'm actually spawning them, which is interesting. I'm not actually in HDRP here, Brian. I will be with the when I use this in production. So they should be spawning here. Let's go with the textures. It says it spawned 1,400. Yeah, okay. So it's probably because I'm using objects, not textures. I do this every time as well. It's another common error of mine. I go and use grass objects rather than grass textures when I should be using these. Okay, this should work this time. There we go. Oh, I am in HDRP. All right. So enable Flora. Leave all the defaults, hit play. I don't have a flora enabled at all. That's right, I didn't. But that wasn't my problem in that instance. Oh, I'm still white. Or is it loading the shaders? Okay, I'm still white. Do I need to do something else to enable flora other than just tick that box? I know there's a menu up here. Add flora to scene. Well, it's pretty certain that I'm going to need to do that. Get detail data. Fetches the current detail data. Well, I've just spawned, so I'm guessing I need to do that. Okay, hit play this time. Oh, I've got it in full screen. You folks can't see what's happening on the play mode. Let me just fix that. There we go. It was coming up on my other thing. Now let's turn off the auto camera. I've got this cool auto fly cam thing, which is great when you actually want it to fly, but not so great when you don't. Alright, I have no... Okay, Brian is saying, next to enable flora there's a button, also enable all. You'll want to click it. Alrighty. I presume you mean in the spawner. What the heck is all that? Let's deal with this first. Enable all. Do you want to enable the flora setting for all spawn rules in the spawner? Yes, I do. I'm not going to be putting anything other than grasses. Okay. Pedro says Unity is also realistic. The one that in Unreal they give you a free forest. Yeah, and you have to pay in Unity. That's right. And Unreal with their monthly freebies that they send really make quite a difference. To what you have available, and Unity just doesn't have the money to be able to give away stuff like that, which is a bit of a shame and a bit of a problem. But again, I don't want to look the same as everybody else, and when something is given away, it means everybody's using it, and so any game that goes out that needs a forest, they use that same forest. So it's all a bit, you know, everything has its pluses and minuses. Alright, so Brian is trying to help me with flora here. You also want to click the terrain and make sure that renders are correct, either splat or detail. Okay, click the terrain. Make sure that renders are correct. Oh, I don't want that, I want that. And so I presume you mean for the grass detail objects. Current render pipeline does not support detail shaders. Okay, edit details. I'm assuming this is what you're referring to. Either splat or detail. No, this isn't what you're referring to. Under flora terrain. Under flora terrain. Flora, there's a flora component, is there? Am I missing it? I don't see a flora component. Nope. Where have all these spawners come from? Hundreds of them. I didn't put them in. The component level, oh sorry, okay, scroll down. So when you click on the terrain, there's a component called floor. Oh, yeah, the component. Sorry, you said the component, right. If I actually listen, that would be great. So I have no flora renderers. I presume that that is a problem. So details scriptable. What can I get in there? Ooh, look at all this. So there's all the procedural world grasses in there, but not the ones that I want to work with. You're all shouting at me, "On the terrain, Inspector, you fool!" This was where you didn't know what to do. All right, Richard, we got Brian with us. He'll get us there. You would need to click the build renders from the terrain if none is there. Okay, so somewhere on here. So this build renderers from terrain. Got it. So that's going to look on my terrain, and this is going to, is this wanting to saved detailer files? Okay, so I'll go in here. I'll go in here. Let's create a details files for now, since I don't know what it's going to create. All right, did I do it? Let's have a look. Do I have something in here now? I do. Oh no. Still don't have it. Okay, let me focus on what I was actually doing. Build renderers from terrain. Build the renderer list from the terrain. Only do this when one is not already set up. Well, one is not set up. Build detail render configuration from the terrain. Okay, just do it again. I'll just ignore it. It says only do it if nothing's there, so I will. Details files. Okay, select that folder. It did seem to do something. Okay. And then do I grab what I saved, perhaps? No, there's nothing there. It didn't save anything. That's interesting. Is there an error? Nope, just a bunch of warnings. Let's do that again with a clean build render. Yep, okay. Wants me to pick a folder. I'm in my folder. If you click on the grass real fast. Okay. The grass that I'm spawning, do you mean? You mean that? Okay. This is definitely one of the big problems of HDRP, the fact that it doesn't have a grass renderer in it right now. Your word is video games creator. I guess you know, game wise, job wise. No, I'm not in the video games industry as a professional career. I do it as a hobby in the evenings. I intend to retire into it as a career, though. My job is not good. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't use HDRP generally because it's not quite ready, but I did do an HDRP scene the other day, and I used the technique of doing all the grass as terrain trees, and it worked great. But I wasn't creating the biome. I placed everything by hand, and it worked great, but it wasn't working for me in the biome here. I do look forward to having a decent solution for grass in HDRP. All right, so Brian is saying, so I need to create my own. Click on the spawner grass, so that one. Okay. There is a, just looking through this list while Brian is typing my next instruction. So I can tint it, I can draw it. I mean, this looks pretty good. It gives me a lot of control. Look forward to being able to use that better. should be settings object under the enable flow area system. Okay. So there is a settings object right there. So if I click on that, what do I find? Okay, so this is the same content that I was seeing. There it is, settings. Yep, got that bit. At least I think I did. Chat is always a little bit behind. I should put the stream on super low latency and see what that does. I don't know whether my network can cope with it, but let's see. All right, now this is how you can create your flora. Then this is what you use to build the renders for the terrain. Okay, so I see the setting that you were saying, either splat or detail, which is the setting here. So are you saying I put that into the setting that you were showing me before? So that was on the terrain, wasn't it? Are you saying I put it in here? Let's see if it'll take it. It will. All right, so I'm guessing that's what you were hoping that I'd figure out. You need to add the mesh and oh wow, this is just too complicated. I've got like 30 grasses that I need to do. this is just not good. All right, I think it's even more than 30 grasses, to be honest with you. Not that I'll be using them all in the same scene, so I can get away with doing 5 or 6 of them initially. Yeah, Pedro, do you like anime and chatting as a whole? I'm not. I wouldn't say I don't like anime. I would say that I don't really know much about anime, so I don't know whether I like it or not. My 2 kids are crazy for I forget the name of it now. But they've watched about 8 series of something twice over. They're mad for it. My wife's watched a fair bit with them as well, but I've managed to avoid it, which is not necessarily a good thing. All right, so the next update should make this whole thing a lot easier. That's good. Yeah, I'm happy to try something, Brian. I'm here to learn. So yeah, if you wanna try something out with me, see if it works, very happy. And if not, I'm just gonna go back to doing it the way I was, because I do have a spawner there. I might do them as objects. No, the grass as objects is really gonna kill it, isn't it? That's not a good idea. In Mexico, anime is very popular. Yeah, I think it's popular everywhere, to be honest, Pedro. I don't know. It's just Mexico. It's an art form that has really taken off in the last, well, I don't know how long, really. I think it's really taken off in about 5 years ago. Wish you could use Gaia to export rules to Vegetation Studio. That's something that I've been working on. So yeah. So, hey, Olan, Aaron. So Vegetation Studio is love-hate for me. I absolutely love some of the features of it. You know, the ability to mark a spline and have a completely different planting set of rules along that spline, or a polygon or whatever. That is all fantastic, and I've been begging Procedural Worlds to add that into their tooling for a long, long time, and it is coming slowly. If you look at what they're doing with Jenna, you can see they're building the foundations to do that kind of stuff, but it's not quite there yet. The flexibility just isn't quite there. But then the UI for Vegetation Studio is awful. It takes me forever to do anything in Vegetation Studio, and also you don't have a lot of control over the end results, not like you do in Gaia, and even more so in Jenna. So honestly, I wish one company would buy the other and we just ended up with one product with the best of both. I know that is not actually going to happen. It's not as simple as that to merge two products, but they both have huge advantages, and I wish we could have them both mushed together so that we got the advantages of both in the other, and then I'd be super happy. So Brian, make it happen. You heard it here. Not sure if this worked, but I believe it's the idea for the next iteration. Yeah, I like the Mechanica. I can't say that. I'm going to call you 123 because that's easier. I do love the Gaia workflow, and that's why I'm in it. I don't use, much as I love some aspects of Vegetation Studio, I don't actually use it anymore. Because the control that you have with Gaia, and then when you add Jenna in as well to go away from the procedural and do the designed pieces, which you just can't do easily with Vegetation Studio. You can do it because it has this persistent storage thing, but it doesn't have the benefits of Jenna. So I do end up working in these because the workflow does trump it in the end for me. If you paint on the grass, so you could build renders for the terrain, although I don't know if you can paint because of HDRP. Alright, well, let's give it a go. You made custom tools to extend it. Excellent. Well, you should be sharing those on the Discord, on the Procedural Worlds Discord. Right, let's go. Let me clear all of this grass because it's just not easy to see what I'm doing. Terrain details, clear, and then I'll try painting on for you, Brian. So I believe I have grass selected. I do. Yeah, it's letting me paint. Okay, so I've done that. Oh, it has trouble with painting. VSP has trouble with multi-terrain, does it? I don't know. I don't tend to do multi-terrain. And yeah, Yolan is right. Aaron is right when he says VS is better for map magic and dynamic terrains, runtime terrains. It's not just better. Gaia can't do that. You can get away with it a little bit in Jenna, but it's not really optimized for that kind of activity. So you have to use Visual Studio in that sense. Letting my dog in. He's at the door. One was in and one was out. They weren't happy being separated. Now they're just staring at each other in the door, trying to decide who's coming in and who's going out. Oh, they're both coming in now. All right. Yeah, for Map Magic, you have to go VS, Visual Studio. Or use the built-in Map Magic stuff, of course. Yeah, I've seen the comments that Jenna is going to do Map Magic. He's going to do dynamic, runtime terrains. I was somewhat surprised when I saw that. Seems like a stretch of functionality. I mean, adjusting for things that go underneath objects you're placing and stuff, I get that. Maybe making it into a kind of a terrain brush, maybe. But runtime generation of terrains, I don't know, that just sounds a bit, I don't know, feature creep maybe. I will reserve my judgment until I see what you do, however. It's an interesting idea. All right, Brian, I've managed to paint on the terrain. You were saying that you think that might give me the required configurations. So those of you who've just joined, we're trying to make Flora work as simply as possible. Since Brian is here, I thought I'd take the opportunity of getting some guide on how to use Flora. A massive, well, of course there's a massive vision. You've got Adam leading the company. Everything's a massive vision, right? The guy just has endless ideas and endless visions. There's no question about you guys having a massive vision. just remove the current render before hitting the build renders from the terrain. Alright, so that was go into the terrain object, scroll down, remove this, and then hit build renders for terrain. Let me read your instruction again, make sure I got that. Just remove the current render before hitting the build renders. Okay. And then say yes, please. And then select a directory. Select the folder. It did something, maybe. Or maybe you meant I needed to remove the this thing. Or maybe even from here. Well, that wasn't the render there though, was it? That was just the settings. Let's remove that as well then. And go back to the terrain. No renderer in there. Let's check there's no more instructions. What are we going to do today, Brian? Same thing as as always. We're going to take over the room. So I presume you're talking about Adam there. Yeah, we're gonna take over the world. I think you're going to simulate the world first. Presumably the idea is that if you simulate the world, you'll be able to practice the actual takeover. I think that's probably the main goal. All right, so I'm clicking on the build renderers. This time nothing's appeared in that folder. Let's have a look in this folder. Where was it? I put it in here, didn't I? Detail. Yeah, there's nothing there. There's nothing being generated when I hit that build renderers button. Oh, Pinky in the Brain reference. Okay, yes. I thought you had mistyped your own name as Brian. That was a bit silly of me, wasn't it? Okay, so the feature you're looking for is not in, but you're saying that that is the way that it is hoped to work in the future. That's awesome. But I am going to give up on this renderer, to be honest with you. I want to make sure I make some progress this evening. So I'm going to go back to my grasses, trees, ugly and horrible as it is. I'm going to enable that and remove that. Let's get rid of those. Oops. Manually painted grasses and respawn everything. So I am not going to focus on the grass here because of that problem. I'm instead going to focus on the bushes. I'm going to turn off the grass. Oops, I didn't mean to create a spawner. Let's do everything with the bushes in. Yeah, it works perfectly using the presets. It does. I've used it with your presets before, and it does work really well there. And you know, it's not unusual for a first generation product to have difficulties with other assets. That's largely why I'm waiting for your next version. All right, this is looking good. So we've got no grass in now. That is deliberate. I'm going to work on these bushes. In particular, I want to check out my ferns up here. My ferns look pretty good. So I'll just show you how I did those ferns, because I was talking about it as a mechanism for doing it with the bushes. Sorry, with the grass earlier on. So I have overall spawner mask settings there. And then I'm spawning the ferns as game objects, and what that enables you to do is to have multiple instances underneath. And so what I'm doing is I'm having between 0 and 3 of each instance. I have 4 types of fern, randomly between 0 and 3 of each one of them, and then they are spread out over an area of -1 to 1 in both the X and Z axes. So what each patch does is it gives you between 0 and 12 ferns. Very rarely going to get 0, but you end up with these kinds of, I think that's probably 2 patches. and there's another patch there and another patch down here. So you end up with these patches that are kind of fern-like. And you can do that with the grass as well, but that requires you to spawn the grass as game objects, which is fine if you are using something that is going to deal with your performance issues there. Something like, my mind has gone blank, the GPU instancer. That's it. Yeah, Night Shadow, I do realize I could do it now manually, and you were saying, okay, and you need to set up the mesh and everything. I generally refuse to do things manually unless it's actually creative, actually creating, you know, placing objects in the scene and making it that way. I want my tools to work for me. It's a bit of a bugbear of mine because it does mean that I miss out on using tools for useful things before they're ready. Because once I've done it once, I would have the biome for everything, of course. But I have other things that I want to achieve. So, did I see the post that we're going to be able to do trees? What, as in make trees? I did not see that post. Looking forward to see if it can match VS Pro's perf. Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to close my door. The dogs aren't noisy now, but the kids are. Oh, using Flora for trees. Okay, excellent. Yeah, so like Aaron, if you can hit Visual Studio Pro performance levels, then I'm going to be a very happy chappy. That should be your goal, and I know Adam has a much bigger goal than that, which goes way beyond what I want as an indie, and that makes a lot of sense. But for me as an indie, get it out there at that performance level and I'll be happy. All right, what am I doing? I'm trying to get my cherry bushes so I can have some more variety up the top here, and there they are. All right, Highland bushes, that's good. Let's collapse that down. Add in a new rule. And I'm going to do the same thing with this. So I'm going to have, but I'm not going to have multiple of them spawning in the same place. So I'm going to want an instance in here. And I'll put my first cherry in there. I'm going to have there's a question for Brian. I'm not sure how to do this actually. Brian, I have 6 cherries and I want to only spawn one of them. Any one at random. If I put 6 new instances in here, it's going to potentially spawn more than one. So I'm going to have to do them as individual objects, aren't I? Individual spawn rules. One for each game object. Whilst you're typing the answer for that, I will look at the rest of chat. Did I say Visual Studio? Aaron's typed in Vegetation Studio with no context, which means I almost certainly said Visual Studio. I do that so often. Yep, yep, there you go. Next comment, you have Visual Studio on the brain. I do. I cannot get those two things out of my head. The plants mesh not spawn on the train, but yes, spawn with Gaia. I see what you mean. Yeah, with the flora thing. That's true. Yeah, and that's Brian is right, and I did notice, Brian, that Adam, when Adam was talking about the runtime generation of terrain, he talked about it being mesh. So does that mean that when Jenna is doing terrain, it is only going to do mesh, or will it do terrains as well? And I am going to I have a problem here. You see these pieces underneath? That's because I have in my mesh setting up here, I have a collision mask with the trees because I want the ferns to appear under the trees, but I don't want that same rule in my bush. So I'm actually going to have a different spawner for my bushes, unless I remove those. I'd rather have just one spawner, so I'm actually going to remove them. So let's copy that. Add in my rule again. Paste that in, but invert it. Alright, so now I should be removing those. There we go. Excellent. And it's also coincidentally removed them from up here, which is good because I don't want bushes appearing next to my trees up there. Alright, and then I'm going to need a new height mask because I want these to come down a little bit more. Okay, so pull this down. And I want that to just tail out a bit faster and then more slowly at the very tail. Oops, going the wrong way. There we go. And then bring it up just a touch. Why is that not changing? Oh, because it, yeah, because of the way I've got the height selector. Let's bring that down a little more. There we go. All right, and we haven't got it on the steepest slopes already. That looks okay. Need to put my black cherry in. I'll leave it on game object now. Actually, I can do these as trees because I'm going to have to do them as separate objects, I think. Still waiting for Brian to understand my question. To be honest, I don't know the full extent at this point. Manny would know more. Okay. Yeah, so we don't know if it's going to be just meshes or not. But even today, Jenna can spawn on a mesh terrain. So if that's what you're looking for, Jenna is a good tool for you. You can do global spawning with Jenna as well. People think of it as just like a paint tool, but you can actually do global spawning with it as well. It's a lot slower than doing it in Jenna, and it's also not quite as predictable, but it works. All right, where are my bushes? I've only spawned 18. Oh, here's a bug for you, Brian. When you have a terrain tree object like I have here, the very first one that you create never renames itself. Actually, it's not in terrain trees. Yes, it is in terrain trees. The first one will always stay as new tree 1. If I add another one now, let me just test it to make sure I'm not talking nonsense. And I put another cherry tree in here. Yeah, you see it's renamed it. It's only the first one. It doesn't rename it. And you have to go in and rename it manually. After that, it works fine. So there you go. You got a bug report from me. All right, so let me turn that one off while I sort this one out. Looking good. I want more than those, though. I've only got 18 showing. That's not enough. Let's reduce the increment to something like 10. And that might give me too many. Let's see. Yeah, 150 is likely way too many. I don't know though. By the time I've put the others in, it will be too many. So let me put that up to maybe 20. And then let's do this. Oh, and a feature request. Let me just kill this one so you can see my feature request. When I'm setting up masks, I can copy the mask and paste it in, and that is super duper useful. I want to be able to copy all of the mask settings. That's useful when I want to copy from a mask spawner like this, the spawn settings masks, into another one. And I also want to be able to copy a complete configuration of, in this case, a terrain tree. So I want a copy button up here as well. Because now I have to go and do this 5 times, 6 times, and they're all almost identical. And it's too much clicking. You can give it me in 2 clicks, I'm sure. Use texture rules for placement. Yeah, I do use texture rules for placement as well. What I've done is I've got them up here. I don't actually have one on this. If I go to my trees, you can see I have terrain texture rules here as well. They're really powerful, and you can see I actually have 2 texture biomes here. The first one just does the base biomes, the base textures, right, the 4, and then I do tree ground texture rules as well. So I put a different texture around the trees, and that enables me to exclude grass without using the collisions, which are a little bit expensive. I do use collisions when I want to grow and shrink them because that's helpful. But if you do this, you can use the texture to automatically exclude the grass from under trees and things like that, which is really helpful. Gaia for spline based and large configurations, yeah. Sorry, Jenna for spline based and large configurations that need to stamp the terrain. Yeah, that is its main piece. When you're doing cliffs and things like that, that's really good. So in Gaia, they would all need to be in separate in the Gaia spawner. You want to see this scene in first person? Well, let me do the bushes, and I'll show you the camera, which is essentially a first person camera. Yeah, there you go. See, Brian. 1, 2, 3, because I can't. I'm going to call him Mechanic. Oh, well, there you go. Mechanic Alchemy. It's not as hard as I thought it was. It's like 70 hours of copying stuff around. I totally agree with that. Your UI is fantastic, but you need to put more copy and paste in, so that because you often duplicate. The users often duplicate things across different spawners. Of course, I could put everything in one spawner and then add in, but that just creates really complex spawners that I can't easily swap in and out. I want to have them really relatively fine-grained. So more copy and paste, please, for me and Mechanic 1, 2, 3. The lighting in this scene is just default lighting straight out the box. I haven't done anything with this scene at all. I have just created a terrain. And then and the terrain was done with World Builder. I didn't spend any significant time creating a terrain, and the lighting is just the default lighting that Gaia sets up for me. So I haven't done anything with that. Later on, when I do a real terrain with this, I will be putting Enviro in, which is my go-to for weather and so on. Gaia does come with weather and lighting effects and the likes. But it's just not to the same standard as Enviro, which is fine because you're not really paying for the lighting stuff in Gaia. It comes because everybody needs it. But I really love Enviro, and Gaia provides one-click configuration for it. So it takes even the pain of that away. All right, so I think I'll leave my location increment at 25 for this one. Looks good. And now I need to copy these. Whoops, I didn't mean to duplicate. I meant to copy. Add that in, paste. I want to be able to do this everywhere, Brian. I want to be able to copy both of these at the same time. I know it's lazy of me, and you should just write all of the features for me, and you can add in and make your game button after you've done all that, and I'll be a very happy camper. So let's see how that's worked out for me. Said one of 3 rules. Oh yeah, I've got the ferns in the same one. Where are they all? There's some up on the ridges there. And that's fine for the small stuff. How many did it spawn? Only 19. And only 32. Alright, I've put those up a bit too high then. Do I want to reduce the minimum fitness? No, I'm going to actually increase the strength of everything, because you can never have too many ferns. So this is another trick I've recently taught myself, and it seems really useful. In most of my spawners, in my spawn masks, I put a strength transform at the end, and that allows me to effectively increase the density without actually changing the density, which is kind of useful for situations like this. So I should now have more of everything in here. There we go, straight to a bush. There's one of the bushes. All right, that is looking better. So now let's get on with putting the other bushes in. How are we doing in chat? Copying's fairly fast now. Yeah, it's all the clicking I have to do. It's getting better, don't get me wrong, Brian. I just want everything. You'll send the request to Peter. Great stuff. And I know it doesn't necessarily fit Adam's goal of taking over the world, but, you know, you prioritize how you need to prioritize. A basic grass rule and modify that rule for each graph. Yeah, exactly. So one thing you can do, mechanic, is use these a lot. It took me a while to find them, and you might already be using them, but I didn't notice them for a good 6 months or so. What you're doing here is any masks you put in here are applied to everything down here. And then you can do things like this. You can go down here, add a spawner in, and you can put in the global spawner mask, which is the output of all of those at the top. So you can then say, well, for this particular thing, I don't want the global spawning to be quite so effective, or more so, or whatever. I don't want to use it here. And that's really useful. Then you can add on grass-specific masks for each one. And that saves a lot of time. I still want the copy and paste though, but that does save a huge amount of time. I was very happy when I found that feature. So new rule. We're up to number 2. And I think that's about right now. I can't even remember what I set this as, and I need to copy them anyway. So again, I'm not bothering too much about the details of this because this isn't my real biome, my real world rather. I'm going to create the world later. I'm going to just leave that at 3 for now, because otherwise I'm just going to be copying and pasting all night. And I want to respawn. I want to actually create another terrain, and this is a reasonably complete biome now. It needs a lot of work still, but it has all of the elements. Oh, rocks. I'm missing rocks. I need to put some rocks in. And then I want to apply it to a different terrain and see how it comes out. Okay, how far down are we coming? That's good. And it's fading out nicely. We've got a few bushes down here too. Yeah, that looks okay. Not got any on the rocks. I haven't used the rock. I haven't excluded the rock because I don't really have any bare rock on this map. But I might want to exclude the rock. We'll do a more cliff terrain to test that in a minute. That's looking quite nice on those slopes. Remember, we have no grass in here yet, so good. Right, let's turn on the camera follow. Pedro wanted to see what this looked like in first person. I don't have a first person controller in here, but I do have this automatic control. It's kind of like flies the camera around in a semi-random way. So it's almost first person. Sometimes it gives you some really nice views. Other times it doesn't go where you want it to. You can program it, but I like random when I'm building things because that stops me going back to the same place over and over again. Just reading the chat. Yeah, it is. Gaia is, and you know, you pair some really good assets with Gaia, and like you say, it can look really good really quickly. I spent about 2 hours on this the other day, and although I've been streaming for a while, I've been talking most of the time. I've not actually done a lot today. I've just added a few bushes. once you have the lighting and stuff into something like this, it really shines. And it's one of the weaknesses, I think, of Gaia. I know the Procedural Worlds team are really proud of the assets that they give away with Gaia, and the fact that they're given away means they should be, right? They're awesome assets, and you can create some fantastic looking environments with them. You spend a bit of time on the lighting and stuff, start to look really good. But when you put stuff like nature manufacture stuff in there, it's just a different, literally a different world. You know, these are photo scanned assets. You can't compare them to the kind of stuff that the Procedural Worlds are giving you for free. You get what you pay for. But when you add them in, what you get straight out the box, I have no processing on the ground textures here at all. I'm not using any kind of mega splat or micro splat or the beloved CTS that unfortunately is no more. I haven't done any of that stuff yet. This is just literally the assets thrown into Gaia. Chuck a few rules in, and you have a whole world. Let me see. Mountain environment is by far their best. Brian, I just love mountain environment. I haven't used anything in this biome yet. I'm going to put everything in this biome. I want this biome to cover a whole, a very large map, basically. It's going to have a lot of different varieties. So I'm going to have meadow, forest, and mountain. I'm really looking forward to doing the mountain stuff. It's just unbelievable. Those guys are really tuning their craft. I went through them all the other day looking at meadow, then forest and mountain, and you can really see how they're growing in their craft. It's amazing. Oh, you have microsplat. See, now you've got these extensions that you've built and you've got microsplat configurations. You should be sharing. Right? I'm going to share this biome later. I've already shared one for the tropical forest pack. You know, let's help one another out here, because, you know, the detail that we put in is what makes it unique. The procedural generation stuff doesn't give you your unique world. We should be sharing that stuff. And I'm not saying you have to. It's your stuff. You do what you want. But I'm sharing mine, and if people want to help me improve on it, that would be great. You don't like RAM? River Auto material. Okay, performance-wise. Okay, yeah. I thought you were saying you don't like the way it works. I love the way it works. But I do agree. Performance-wise, it's pretty heavy. Now, for the work I'm doing at the moment, I'm more after, this isn't actually for a game, this is for some cinematic stuff, and so I'm actually not too bothered about performance. So I'm working with RAM when I do the videos on this one. When you guys have finished what you're doing with Jenna, maybe I'll switch over. But your water surfaces are just not up to scratch for me at the moment. They're great if you're after performance. I'd agree with that, but I'm in a different space at the moment, so don't mean to be criticised, just what I need. I am going to create a different world. I want to see what this looks like in a completely different world. So let's get that started. And let's put, I'm not going to spend ages designing this world. I just want to see how my biome stacks up when it's put into a completely different environment, because that'll allow me to start tweaking it and making it more reusable, which is my goal here. So I want custom. Oh, I didn't save it, did I? Blast. I need to save it first. So let's open that up again. This is another thing that you should do, Brian. I'm not quite sure why I have to go in and manually save this. Why not just save it for me? I guess there's a performance hit there, maybe. And if that's the case, then okay, fair enough. but it would be nice if I never saw a red thing saying unsaved changes, right? It's not a huge bind, right? I get that I can just do this and it does it all for me. But the problem is when I start working in it in a different scene, and then I forget to save it, and I don't realize, and I come back again, and you know, it's just going backwards and forwards that way. I've often ended up having to copy content from one world into another world because I forgot to save it, and there's no merge capability, and you don't have the copy and paste thing that would solve that particular problem. Yay, custom glue. Oh, you make asset glue. Oh, cool. Right. Oh, well, okay. If you're selling an asset, then I'm not telling you to give your stuff away. Right. I didn't realize you were building assets. If you're building assets, obviously that's a totally different thing. I'm just making stuff that I find useful for me. I have no intention of selling them as assets, and therefore there's nothing lost if I give that away. It actually helps people like you who are trying to make money out of it. So that's fine by me. Yeah. Yeah, never repeat anything that Adam tells you, because Adam shares selectively with lots of different people. I know Yolan spent a lot of time with him the other day, and he said, I don't know why I'm bringing up asset manager. I said Yolan, so I'll bring up his asset. He said, oh yeah, I think Adam's moving towards, and I won't say what, and my response was, oh, so you got that version of the future vision then. So now you can see it's selected my all nature manufacturer automatically, because it's picked it up for me nicely. So those things are really nice. The fact that you auto configure that for me is good. All right, I don't want anything in there. I'm going to use mine. Actually, no, I'll use mine. Let's put in all the default. Calm deep blue. I like moderate. All right, let's go with all that. Okay, so people start and stop biome. What do you mean start and stop biomes? Oh, you're not selling your assets. You make prototypes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I just stick my stuff up on GitHub. Nobody comes and uses it. And it's actually not quite true. Some people have, but you know, it's not. The goal isn't really to create a big community around it. It's really just to help people get started, and then occasionally somebody does offer some code over to me. I know I got some good improvements to my tropical biome from somebody who had used it and wanted to give back. All right, now I'm still learning about this generator, but I'm not too bothered about what I want. So let's just kind of go random with this. I need to do the world shape first, don't I? Oh, there's no button on here. I thought there was a button I had to click. All right, good. Just going to leave that as default then. Let's have some valleys. We want some mountains because we said we wanted to see what happened on the rocks. We'll maybe have some hills. Let's have some rivers because I don't have rivers on the other ones. We don't want many islands. All right, let's see what we get. Randomize stamps. Okay, that's looking okay. Now, I never use this to create my real world, so I find it too unpredictable. I also find weird effects like that in the rendering. You see where it's going. Oops. I hit the F key. Oh, I need to go to the spawner, not the train. There is no spawner. Oh, I've lost it. Just zoom out. There we go. Alright. I think I want some more hilly, mountainous bits. And it's only a small world, so I think that's why I'm not getting a lot of... Oops, not generate, randomize. That's why I'm not getting a lot of cliffy areas, because I asked for hills as well. There we go, we've got some cliffs now. That's not bad, actually. Given it's random, we'll go with that. So generate the world. Oh, I have to click OK. Adam doesn't surprise you anymore. The other day, he messaged me and was like, hey, I'm thinking about this and my mind gets blown all the time, yeah. They go in a random scene, start making... Oh, it's a different point now. Oh, I see. So you'll end up with a huge number of autosaves. Well, maybe then, once I've saved it the first time, maybe you could just continue to save it after that, or give me a checkbox on the save or something. I see your point. Yeah, I don't want a huge number of biomes that I've aborted. That makes a lot of sense. But once I have saved it, that's a pretty strong signal that I'm going to at least think I want it at that point. So maybe just require me to actively save it once. And now when I'm using it in a different scene, like I'm doing now, I'll be able to, it'll just automatically save for me. Do I want that? Maybe when I start a new scene, maybe you should have me actively save in case I want to save a different version of it. But once I've saved once, I think it would be a good idea to have it saved constantly. I have lost work because of this. And in fact, it would also mean I would lose less work in an inevitable crash, right? I always get crashes. I'm using Unity, so I'm always going to get crashes. If you're auto-saving the biomes, then I'm losing less work. I know I don't lose it if I've saved the scene, but I always forget to save the scene, and yes, unless Yolan reminds me. Wow, this one's taking a long time to spawn. This is an unusually long amount of time. I hope I shouldn't be worried. It's only a small world. Yeah, well, you know, just put it on the list, Brian. And you know, I get there might be a good reason like serialization that you're not doing it. And if that's the case, then obviously don't do it. But, you know, just customer feedback. Yeah, I've got to save. Fortunately, I've just started a brand new scene. So I did save. That's awesome, isn't it? But I have a feeling that we have something wrong here. I do see an index out of range error down there. And I don't see this moving forwards, and it should not be taking this amount of time on a small world. I will give it until 3 minutes and 30 seconds unless anybody in chat tells me, actually, no, you should give it longer because. Yeah, thanks, Brian. Click on the progress bar window. Yeah, I do have responsiveness if that's what you were wondering about. Sometimes it wakes Unity up. Okay. Let me see if I can see what this error is. It's in the Gaia session manager. Oh, reserializing assets. I do see a lot of these argument out of range errors with Gaia. I haven't nailed it as to being anything predictable, so I haven't raised an issue about it. I see a lot of index out of range with many assets, to be fair. I think there's a UI problem somewhere in Unity that does it. Could be cache build-up. Okay. Well, we did move on, so there are changes, so I'm going to let it continue for a little while. And now we'll click on it periodically. But whenever I see that thing going on for this amount of time, it worries me. What's this one? Attempting to release. Oh, importing assets now. Okay, now we're in Unity hell. Anybody who's using 2020, don't. It does this. I have huge amounts of assets in here. And I mean huge. I've got all the nature manufacturer stuff in here. I've got all of Gaia in here. I've got Jenna in here, although that's not so big. This is going to take a long time. So let me just bring up, we were talking about the mountain environment earlier. Let me bring up a thing that I'm doing over here. Let's just go through to the channel rather than the studio. That would be more helpful. This is something that I did. This is all done with Gaia. Let me just put it on that side of the screen. And I'll keep an eye on Unity in the background. So this is done with Gaia and, let me just mute it. It's done with Gaia and Enviro and the Tropical Forest Pack. So what we've got here is I did create the world. In this one, it wasn't a World Manager one, so it has been crafted, but it's been crafted fairly roughly from stamps. It's not been a lot of detail put into it. Then I threw in my tropical forest biome. I threw in my automated camera, which just flies around on its own, and then I threw in a few birds, which you'll see flying around now and again, and then just left it rendering overnight. And it is awesome, I have to say. I'm really, really impressed with what I managed to achieve in, I would say it was about 3 hours work, end to end. All because of Gaia. Yeah, Brian, the progress bars. There is a tip for the progress bars in Unity 2020. You can actually go into the settings somewhere and you can change the amount of time that needs to pass before they appear. It defaults to 3 seconds. If you put it up to 5 seconds, they don't appear anywhere near as often. But of course, in this particular situation, the problem is the re-import of the assets for no apparent reason. Just gonna, yeah, we're still busy. We're still importing assets. So my camera, you just saw it fly through a tree. My camera is not yet perfect. It does occasionally fly through a tree. Most of the time, as you'll see in a moment, it manages to avoid the trees. So it's gonna dodge around this tree over here. I'm not quite figured out why every now and again it fails to see the tree, but never mind. Such is life, eh? So just flying around in the shot in a moment, you'll see a bunch of parakeet. They come from a bird flock asset, which is one of my favorite assets for just adding a bit of variety into external scenes. There's actually 2 packs. One of them has like tropical kind of birds in, and the other one has more temperate kinds of birds, you know, crows and sparrows and things. This has got toucans and parakeets and stuff. Goes really well with this asset. One thing I want to do with this is take out their rocks. Their vegetation stuff is great. I love it. It's not quite up to nature manufacturer's standard, but it is very good. But their rocks are pretty awful. No, awful's the wrong word. Their rocks aren't as good as their vegetation. All right, Brian. Thanks for your help. You a meeting? Yeah, I suppose that's what you get with a boss in Australia. But yeah, thanks for your help, Brian, and we'll get Flora working with the next release. Let's see how this import is going. Oh, that is not encouraging. Not encouraging at all. So what else we got in here? We got some nice, somebody was asking about volumetric lighting earlier on, and I said Enviro. This is done with Enviro. So this is a nice area where you're seeing the volumetric effects. This is actually an HDR. Actually, no, this is not HDRP. This one is standard. It is built in. So if you're still here, I forget who it was who was asking. I think it might have been Pedro. How to do volumetric lighting in standard and built in. This is the asset that I was recommending. This is pretty extreme that I have the settings on this one. You have a lot of control over it. You don't have to have it anywhere near as extreme as this. But for this particular scene, I wanted it to be very strong. And then what else we got shows in here? I haven't really got the color of the grass right in this. I find it's a little bit too green. I need to do a bit of work on that. I kind of like this scene. So you got some other trees coming in up in the top right there, all from the same pack, all from the tropical forest pack. A good purchase if you want a tropical environment. And what else you got? More of the same. So these, I make these as I work sometimes when I'm able to get 25 minutes between meetings. I work using a technique called the Pomodoro effect, which is you got some butterflies flying. Oh no, those aren't butterflies, those are macaws. You work for 25 minutes and you take a 5-minute break. And so these scenes have got some nice relaxing and non-intrusive music in the background. And then I'll put one of these on a big screen and I'll kind of have that going. And when the music finishes, then I know my 25 minutes is over. And if I'm getting tired of staring at the thing I'm working on, well, I can turn around and have a nice scene to look at. And these are all automatically rendered. Generated rather. It's all procedural. I don't bother going in and fine-tuning anything in these. How's this load going? Oh, what do you reckon, folks? Should I kill it and start again at the risk of it importing assets again? I don't use 2020 a lot because I get these problems constantly. But with nature manufacturer stuff, I wanted to do HDRP. So, who's going to give me a hint? Should I kill it or not? Let's push forward into the evening so you can see the lighting effects. Enviro really does a good job of the lighting. I think there are toucans that are flying around, which is a bit weird because toucans don't flock. So I need to change my settings there. Open project number 2 and leave it running. Well, that's okay. Just trying to think, do I have a project number 2? Yeah, I normally do run with 2 projects at a time, but on this one I haven't actually done that. Just thinking maybe I could do something with the tropical forest. Let me see. The one that renders this. Maybe I could show that in work. Whoops. I'm just working on the other screen. Let me see. Tropical. Because that biome is complete. So we can definitely generate a world in that one. Oh, look at that. 14 minutes importing assets. That's the other thing. Brian's gone now. I really should have said to Brian, stop giving me all these assets that I have to import. I don't want them. I mean, I love that they give them away. I'm not complaining that they're there, and I do use them sometimes. But a lot of the time I'm not using them. I don't want them. I don't want, what is it, 100 gig of assets? It's not that much. It's a lot. Give me as a Unity package where I can choose to install them if I want to. The other one is now importing. So, lesson learned, have to open from the beginning of the stream. All right, it's finished up importing. It's coming up now. Initialize menu. Well, it was coming up, but it's now stuck on initialize menu. All right, it has come up. So let me move that down here where I can see it and bring this up here. Oops, get in there. Oh, just froze from it. So this is the world that was in, that video was in, that we were just looking at a moment ago. Unity is still waking up and loading its assets. There we go. So let's do the same thing in here. Let's create a new project here in the hope that the other one is fired up. So scenes, create scene, tropical island. Let's not do an island this time. Tropical mountains, because I haven't done mountains. Alright, YouTube's telling me that there is a problem with the data coming through. I'm guessing that's because I was just booting up another instance of Unity whilst it was indexing, so hopefully it's going to clear itself in a moment. Alright. Tropical mountains. Let's try it in here. This is exactly what I was trying to do in the other one, but using oh, I'm in 2020 on this one as well. I thought it might be in 2019. So procedural world, Gaia manager. This is normal. It's not it being weird again. Won't do them. Yeah, let's do them. No, let's do a small. Let's keep it quick. Powerful desktop tool. Oh, I haven't done the terrain. You click the create terrain button. Don't want alpine meadows. Where is my biome? Why is I was praising it for having the biome earlier on. Where's it gone? It should be. You can see I've imported the animal packs here. I'm planning on putting some snakes and things into this world. These are the biomes. It's just not recognizing it for some reason. So I'll put that to custom. There should be a none option in here. That's another piece of feedback I should give to Brian. Should be a none option. What it's going to do is it's going to create an empty biome for me, and then I'm going to have to manually add my biome. Which is fine. Oh, this is not Gaia 21, so I don't have the world designer. This is the original Gaia. The reason I do that is I find the newer Gaia to be quite unstable. It's much more stable when you're working in HDRP, I've found. This is a standard pipeline, so I'm using the older Gaia version here. My spawners have not been copied in. This is frustrating. Alright, so we've got the base textures. We need the forest. Bushes and small trees will be down here somewhere. Let me... Forest textures, forest large trees first. So typically I do them from large to small, and then the forest textures comes in after that. No, it comes in before that. That should be up there. And then we'll do the forest bushes. That was a good guess. Forest ground cover after that, and then we have the transition. I'm not sure why it hasn't remembered this. Normally it does. I'm not blaming Gaia on this one because I've been doing some funky stuff with this project, so it's probably my fault. but I don't know why. Forest ground cover. What's that one? That was already there, wasn't it? Transition ground cover. Okay, that should go above there. And rocks. I haven't got rocks. Rocks should be further up. So put the rocks in here and bring that up before the trees. I think that will be about right. And then I just need to add that biome to the world. I could have opened up my other scene and saved the biome again, and it would have probably picked everything up there, assuming that it hasn't lost the references over there as well. But this will probably work. Alright, so I definitely want a hills base. Why am I not seeing the preview? Because I'm not on the stamper. Alright. So I don't want to be, I don't want any river valleys because I don't have any decent water assets in this particular map project. And I don't want to start importing something because the other thing still has barely moved. So let's actually put some plains in instead, and then I'll build up on top of those. That looks good. So we'll use that as a base. Stamp. Where's stamp? Over here. Alright. And now I'm going to want some hills, some mountains rather, around the outside of there. So I'm just going to do this real quick. So I'm just going to repeat the same stamp in multiple places. But you can get away with that as long as you change the setup. Okay, let's go down and have a look down here. I want some cliffs in this. Yeah, that's a bit rough, isn't it? Let's put some hills in to smooth that out a little. Fit to terrain. That's gonna look in the middle there. Is that gonna? Yep, that'll look alright when I put some erosion in. One thing I want to add about stamping is that the transition should have a blend option. Yeah, I think I'm assuming you're talking about when you do this kind of thing. This is so steep and the change here is so severe. It just looks wrong. I agree. Let's petition for one of those. Oh, the green. You want to see the blend going in down at the bottom here. Yeah. Yeah, that would also work. Let's have a look. Has that smoothed things out a bit? It has. We have a little bit of a valley. I kind of like that. That was accidental. I didn't build that deliberately, but that's going to be interesting. We're going to need some erosion, but I don't want too much. Okay. Let's see what that comes out with. Yeah, that looks alright. Alright, that'll do. As I said, I wanted to be really quick with this, not get too caught up in building stuff, although we have some... Where did that come from? That looks like the edge of a stamp, but I'm pretty sure I only had one stamp over there and it came all the way down here. That's kind of weird. Whoops, didn't mean that. Undo. I want to raise height. Oh, no, probably blend height. No, I'm going to just put a completely new item in that corner. I'm just basically going to stamp over the top of that where we've got that problem that I created over here. So as you can see, I'm not thinking carefully about the design here. Not my goal. Keep losing my stamp button tonight for some reason. There we go. Alright, so now in theory I can just hit the biome and remove the custom one. That's the one they added. But hit my biome and stamp everything, and it will look awesome and tropical. Of course, in practice, there's going to need to be some tweaks made to it, as you can see with the number of trees that I've got straight away. The stamp was rotated. So did I have the edge on it there then? So Yolan says the stream may have died. YouTube is not telling me it's died. It is saying, in fact, that I have excellent connection. So hopefully somebody is going to confirm that I'm still here. Just you, all right. Okay, so that's just a little dents on the trees. So let's go into our tree spawner. Let's start with the forest. And you can see I haven't got the strength thing at the end, but this is why I've been doing it. Because the reason that this has happened is because of the amount of flat that I have in this particular scene. So all I need to do is say, no, I want way less trees. And I find it's useful to have this curve upwards. Because otherwise it just ends up fairly flat. And by flat I mean uninteresting. So I can't actually see because there's so much on here. Let's clear this spawn. Okay, and why am I not? Oh, it is there. I'm just not seeing a lot. Okay, that actually looks quite good without the main forest spawn on it. Let's see what happens if I bring it down even lower and just have the odd tree as a result. There we go. And I know that was an S. I'm being quick. I need to do the whole thing because the terrain gets changed by that spawner as well. The texture gets changed by that spawner as well. Alright, that might be a little too few trees. Yeah, the texturing is nice. Again, there's no blending or anything in these. These are just my base textures here, which are fairly complex and a lot of noise on them. He says, showing one that has nothing on it at all. That one's the sand, so it's just a height mask. But when we start getting down to here, they get a little bit complex, but not massively so. And then once I've done that, I then have a separate set of textures just for the forest textures. And I don't think these are, I said they were complex. They're not actually that complex looking at them. So I'm using some noise. And this is mostly a height-based thing, which is why it was covering everywhere. I've taken it down too far, though. So let's do more of that kind of thing. And that's at 0.2. That might be a bit low. Oh, sorry, I'm off the screen, aren't I? There we go. Let's try that. I just want a few of these big trees, because these trees are massive, the ones that go in the forest. Still nothing. Okay. Have I got enough forest texture coming in? Yeah, I got a good amount there. Don't know if you can see that on the stream because it's quite subtle on the colouring. So, did I just change the strength on the... I did. I changed the strength on the forest texture, not the trees. That's interesting. What that means is I'm not getting my trees because my texturing is so low. There we are. We're seeing it coming in over here now. Should use a preview. I'm just being lazy. Alright, let's try that. See if that works any better now. I thought I was changing the number of trees that were going to be spawned. The rules are, this is the second iteration of this particular biome. And so the rules have taken they have been further tweaked. Look, I've got that. I didn't even notice that one. I'm going to ignore it because I just want to get this going, and I'll deal with that later. It is worth spending a lot of time. I think it was you, Mechanic Alchemy, that said you use textures to control the spawning, and that is important. And that's what I've tried to do here, and it has worked. I just need to find the right balance with these forest textures. I'm going to put this right back up to, in fact, I'm going to turn that off. Yeah, there we go. It is definitely that. But I'm still getting plenty through there. Alright, so let's look at my large trees. Right, so why are they not spawning? Did I turn them off? No. Let's spawn the whole biome. Oh, I know what I did. I was just spawning the textures, wasn't I? Oh, I am such a fool. What I was doing, I was just spawning the textures and not spawning the trees after it. And so when I was bringing the value down, that was the right thing to do, but I needed to spawn the trees afterwards to be able to see the effect. So let's do that, and then I'm going to spawn the whole biome just to clear everything up. That is the disadvantage of using a lot of texture rules to control where you're spawning your vegetation. You have to remember to spawn both. There you go. That's what I was after. I'd love you to share microspec configs. I do own it. I have yet to truly learn how to use it. It's one of those things that I just need to make the time to learn, and I haven't done so. So anything that could give me a head start would be awesome. Yeah, there's no blending in those textures at all, other than what Gaia does you if you muck with the rules. I don't think I've done it in this one. A trick that I have found, and I've found that not many people do it, so I will share it again here. Let's say we're doing this one. Often you'd put a noise mask on something like this in order to break it up, right? But one of the things you can do is pick a mask, let's say a distance mask, just because we can, right? So turn off the distance mask, and you can see we have a lot of density here. Now, distance mask isn't really going to work for me. Let me change it to a height mask, but let me make it flat. Right, and then, sorry, I need to stay in there. And then what you can do is almost randomly create variations, and this gives you not noise, because clearly this isn't noise. That's one, right? So I need to go. I'm not going down far enough because I made it. Let me just do this. This is a problem with the Unity curve editor, so I'm just getting it back to full screen again. I'm just going to do it from here so we can see it, but basically you just put semi-random variations like so, and you keep putting them in, and then you can tweak them individually. And what that does is it changes the strength of the texture in bands, basically, in this case, because we're doing a height curve. And you can then use that to create kind of a blending. So where you have this hard ridge here, for example, which is coming in because of the height on it, you can say, okay, well, up here, let's not have that hard ridge. So you've got to find the right point on it. There it is. So then I can bring that one back up. And that allows you to give like pseudo blending between the different textures. you'll still get this texture all over, because you can see we've still got fairly strong signal here, but you'll have kind of a noise effect in it, but it's not noise, it's not random. It's you can tweak it to look right. It's a really useful effect that I use a lot. I haven't actually used it in this particular biome, but it's a good tip if you're not already doing that. Yeah, Aaron's using textures for spawn rules as well. It is really useful. The one place where it actually causes problems, I find, is when you are when you're trying to control the density of something across the whole map. So you've got a particular plant that wants to appear everywhere. Now, I'm not happy with the amount of this kind of land that I've got. It's all forest. So I need to sort that out and go in here, and I think it's a noise mask. I'll use the strength transform again and just bring it down. Do a little bit of what we did there. You can't see that very well. I don't think that's had quite the effect that I wanted. Let's increase the height on this as well. Oh, it's gone into world space. Why has it gone into world space? I nearly always work relative. Oh, I'm not visualizing. Can't really see that very well, can you? Okay, let's try that. Yes, in fact, so you're saying that you can also use concave and convex rules to achieve the similar result. I was doing that in the stream last week, actually, and I did it in conjunction with that same technique. So you can use your concave convex to pick out those areas, and then use that technique of changing the strength almost randomly on that particular thing, and that has a really good effect. Particularly where you've got like little gullyways and things. That's coming in a bit better, but not quite enough. Let's give this a bit more. Strength. It's getting overridden by the forest textures, isn't it? It doesn't seem to be. That's kind of weird. But it's not that strong. Why is it writing it off? I've got the texture rule. Nope. There's no trees being thrown in. Is it a later rule in this then? That looks okay. And that looks okay. So why? No other texture biomes. What is it that is removing all that? If the stamper could blend the base of the texture, there'd be less problems in the final height map. Blend the base of the texture. I'm not sure I'm following what you mean there. So that's the patchy grass, and that is the other grass. Let's just expand that out a bit. So where is that other grass coming from? Forest ground, forest ground. Must be the patchy grass, that one. Oh, it is. Oh, look at that. Do you see that? I've got the water stamp on. I've got no water. So it's looking like a different texture, right? But it's actually the water stamp behind it. That's another feature request for them. Allow me to turn off the water stamp everywhere, right? I can turn it off here and it'll get rid of it on this view. not the water stamp, the water visualization. But as soon as I select another one, it comes back again. I've got no water. I don't want anything. Can I do this? And it won't let me multi-edit. And I've just spent, what, 10 minutes trying to figure out why my spawns weren't doing what I thought they should be doing. I thought I had a different texture underneath. We could... Do I want that to be that rough? I think I do. All right. So we've lost our large trees because of that messing around. So let's just bring that back up. And maybe bring that up a touch. And hit spawn on everything. One of the things that I find with procedural worlds tools is I don't think that they've got a member of staff who is constantly using them. It's so often the case when people are building tools, they're too busy building them to actually use them. And I know Brian does a lot of streams and experiments with the tools on his streams, but I don't think that's enough. He needs to build actual worlds. Because those little quality of life things, you know, the actual design of the tools is fantastic, and you can see they spend a lot of time thinking about these things, and we get a lot of benefit from them as a result. But I think they could do a lot better if they had somebody just building worlds. Right, we have none of this spawning in. Why is that? Okay, this is the forest small trees. Stop the lines in the height map. Okay. Hey Richard, welcome back. The lines. Oh, you mean when you? Oh, okay. So when you get a thing like, not that. Which corner did it have it in? This corner. Yeah, this thing here. If it detected it had the edge and then said, "Oh, I shouldn't have a hard edge. I should be merging down into this one." Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, something's different. I'll show you why it's different. That is the other asset, and it is now been importing for 42 minutes. I think I should kill it, folks. I don't think that is going to import. What I did was created a new scene, and it started importing everything. So I started playing with a different biome. But I think I should probably kill this. Anybody going to tell me not to kill it? Well, I just get my forest biome to actually spawn. My small trees, rather. Okay, it's just the forest textures need yet more strength. Bring it way up to about there. Oh, I played with the height map. That's what's going on. Oh, I'm not doing well. I think I'm getting too tired to be doing this at this point. I'm making lots of silly errors. Height map. It's this. There we go. Right, that's too high. There we go. That's better. Now we have some forest areas. All right, let's try that again. Yeah, Richard, you missed the fact I was going to test the biome in a new world, and I started up a new scene in order to do it, and Unity decided it was going to. It's not crashed. It's just been importing assets for over 40 minutes now. So I switched out to a tropical terrain biome that I've been working on. That's a little bit too weak. Let's just add a bit more in here. Let's bring that up a touch. And bring, there we go. Let's try that. And then I will put the lighting in. That's better. We have an actual forest-like area. There we go. And yeah, that looks good. I used to live in the Caribbean a few years ago, And I love this this kind of environment. We need lots more ferns in here. It's not busy enough in there because I have a light forest here, so there would be lots on the ground there, which I'm not doing by default at the moment, so that's okay. We can deal with that. Yeah, those trees, the big trees that you're commenting on, they're called kapok trees. They are huge. They have, I'll zoom into one in a moment once I've added Enviro in. Let's go for evening to start with. If I zoom into one, you take a look at the base of these. Those, I forget what they're called now, but these things that hold them up, that's going to be about 10 feet from ground to ceiling, and that will be about 15 to 20 feet across there. They are humongous trees. You have no idea unless you've been and seen these things. They are so amazing. And they have those big buttress things because they're so big. They just can't stay alive. They just can't stay upright without those. All right, there we go. We have some lighting in there. Let's put my AI camera in. Just need to do a little bit of configuration on that, because much as I was giving Brian a hard time earlier about I want everything to be automatic that can be automated, I haven't done that yet. But I've automated a fair amount of it. Just move those over there. What that is going to do is going to spawn waypoints around the world that the camera will then go and view. So just move the starting point somewhere into the middle, kind of random. For some reason I disabled the waypoint spawner and I meant to disable the things underneath. That's good. So then when I hit play, it will just start flying around to those randomly spawned waypoints. You can, of course, place waypoints manually, and it will then prioritize those. Each waypoint, if I click on one, you can see each waypoint has very limited configuration, but it has a weight. They default at 0.5. Oh, I've got the time of day on, which is not good because these don't look good at night. And then the re-enable wait time. If it's set to 0, it never re-enables that. So the random ones you typically have set to 0, but you can put one that you prefer in. So let's change the time of day to morning. You can, of course, do this inside of the Enviro settings. This is just configuring them automatically for you. And I was just being lazy because I can't remember where the setting is. And let's put no, I'm not going to bother putting a real waypoint in, but you can just trust me. You can set it up so if you've got, when you've handcrafted a place rather than randomly generated it, you're going to have some places that you know look great. And so you're going to add your waypoints onto those items. So maybe you've got a waterfall, for example, and you stick a waypoint in there, and it'll just go off and it'll position itself to where the waypoint is. So it's kind of, you know, the picture perfect photo, if you like, and then it'll stay there for a while and then it'll wander off. You can, of course, change the speed of it running about, etc. I've not open sourced this yet, but I've promised Yolan that I will, so I should get off my backside and do that. Which asset pack is this? So the I've just noticed that Jenna 3.3 just came into the store and it has an HDRP river shader. Oh, I was slagging off their river shaders earlier. I'll have to go check that out. Which asset is this? This is the Tropical Forest pack. It's pretty cheap. This isn't the best environment to see it in. I've just thrown this together while we were waiting for this import to happen. I'll open up the other one in a moment and then go, in fact, oh, here comes, oh yeah, it's probably going to start snowing, which is the default setting for Enviro, which always makes me laugh. It starts snowing in the Caribbean or the tropics. What was I saying? Oh yes, am I going to kill that other one? Just take a quick, yeah, I'm going to kill it. I've had enough. It is not going to import, is it? And if it is... Oh, yes, you're right. I haven't baked. I forgot about that. I think it's actually the shaders. I haven't investigated yet. Just making sure I'm killing the right editor. Yeah, it's that one. I think it's actually the shaders. That asset comes with custom shaders, which look awesome in highlight. The tropical forest pack. I just killed the wrong flaming Unity instance. It's what happens when you're talking and doing at the same time. Alright, so now we have no Unity open. Oh, yes we do. Why is that still there? Oh, it's truly broken. I just killed that process. Oh, sorry. I've locked it now. There we go. I'm back. Alright, so let me just check. Task manager. Oh, that flickering. Sorry, that's me. I'm just bringing up the task manager. End the task. I can't even end the task. Oh, there it goes. It went eventually. All right. Let's open up the tropical again. And then when that's open, I'll open up the other one that we were working on. In the meantime, let me bring up... Actually, I won't bring that up because this has come up now. I was just about to find the tropical forest pack for you, but I'm sure you can look it up if you want it. Go away. Come on. Oh, come on. Snap in there. There we go. All right, so this is a better... While I'm bringing the other one up, I'll just start this one playing. This is a better scene. This is a completed scene using the tropical forest pack. So I think it's about $30 or something. It is not an expensive pack. And it is fantastic. It's not quite at the standard of Nature Manufacture. But honestly, it's not that far away. And this is only built in. This is not HDRP. Alright, and I'm also starting up the Nature Manufacturer one, see if we can get a new scene. I'd like to get that done before I call it a day. So this is Enviro that's doing the lighting. And it does have time of day, but it's fairly slow time of day. No, it's just Enviro this. There's no Aura 2 in there. I do have Aura 2. I have never got on with it. I know loads of people really like it. I've just struggled to get the effects that I want with it. The only time I've really succeeded is when I've used Procedural Worlds Ambient Skies, which kind of auto sets it up for you. And I go, oh, that's nice. And then I've gone and played with the settings and quickly made it a mess. Yeah, I do love Enviro. I also like Weathermaker. It's a lot harder to work with. It's a lot more configurable though, which is a plus and a minus, right? I know Aura can give you some amazing effects, but you have to figure it out. And Enviro is simple, but you can't get the same variety. Likewise, Weathermaker is very, very configurable, but you can't just press a few buttons and get a nice result. So the Nature Manufacture one is opening up on my other screen at the moment. It's not going particularly quickly, but it is opening. I think it's opening. It says hold on busy. Oh, it's opened. All right, so let me stop on that and see if I can actually create a world with that biome we've been working on. I just love the application tick. It's such a joyous thing to wait for. So let's bring this one up. And we appear to... What on earth is that? Oh, okay. Right. So fortunately I had saved. So it's all good. Go into test world. I hadn't saved this one because I was in the middle of setting it up, wasn't I? So let's do that. Let's quickly create a world again. All right, small. Well, yeah, that's the one I want. That's my biome. So create world designer. Yes, set up HDRP lighting. Good. Now I'm going to leave the runtimes out because I find that when you put the Gaia runtimes in, it crashes more frequently. I don't know if that's me imagining it or if that's actually happening, but it's the way it feels. All right, so let's have a look what we got here. We don't want a lot of plains because we're only small. I wanted mountains because I wanted cliffs. Don't want many hills. Messes. We'll have a few valleys in there. We don't want islands. We don't want many rivers. Let's see what that looks like. Bit boring. Let's go in here. Why have we not got enough mountains? That's kind of weird. I guess it's number of valleys perhaps. I don't know much about this world designer thing yet. I literally just move things and wait to see what happens. Okay, that looks alright, but I'm not happy with the amount of flats I've got in it. There we go, that looks better. That's what I wanted because it's quite different from the well, it's quite similar that side, but the other side is quite different from the one we built the biome in, and that's the purpose of this. So, generate world. This is where it broke before. And is it going to do it again? Because this is the exact same spot, if I remember correctly. This isn't encouraging. Alright, I'm going to give it 2 minutes, and if it doesn't come back, because normally this just takes 30 seconds or so. If it doesn't come back, I'm just going to very quickly stamp out a world, because I definitely want to test this biome before I go to bed. Okay, I'm impatient now. I said 2 minutes, but I'm at 1 minute. I've got to wait for a whole minute. I'll take a drink instead. So I have found Gaia 2021, Gaia Pro 2021 to be quite unstable. But I've also found Unity 2020 to be quite unstable, and I'm using Unity 2020, so I don't want to blame Gaia, but it's the second time tonight this exact same thing has happened, and the world I was working in before is the first and only time I've actually managed to create a world in 2021. That's why the tropical forest one is in original Gaia. So I don't know if it's something about my hardware or my setup or what I'm trying to do with it, but I do find it's unstable. I monitor them at the Discord, and there isn't lots of complaints about it being unstable. There's 2 minutes, right? I'm killing it. So, you know, I do think it's something about my particular setup. I wish I could nail it down and give the team some feedback. so that they might be able to fix it. But I can't nail it down, and I don't see anything in the logs which is indicative. So I'm just going to kill this one. There we go. It's gone. Unity Hub. This time I'm going to stamp it and see if that's more reliable. Does anybody else find it to be unstable? I know Aaron's had problems with it. Is it mechanical to me? Do you use Pro 21? Or are you still on the older Pro? Yeah, I'm on the latest. I always say that procedural world stuff stabilizes by their third update, and this was their third update. I am on the latest, and it's definitely more stable because I managed to create a world. So that makes it more stable. I don't know. I'll have to do some more testing. If anybody's thinking of buying it, you should still buy it. It is a fantastic tool. The problem is you have to learn where it's going to break. Like, I'm not going to use the world designer on this one, and hopefully it will not break if Unity decides to open it. Oh, it's opened up on the other screen. All right. Okay, so let's try one more time. Biome development, test world 1. Gaia manager. I think I'm on the latest version anyway. I should check. I definitely updated before doing this stream, so if it's 3.01, that isn't the latest, is it? I'll have a look on. I've got a browser on the other window. I'll have a look in a moment when I've got this doing something. So I'm not going to put the run times in. Oh, I asked it to do world designer. Damn it. Let me just kill that lot. And do that again. Stamper. There we go. There we go. We're in the stamper. Good stuff. Okay, we got the clip plane. Alright, so I want mountains. Let's just go real quick. And oh, why did my stamp browser jump to the other screen? That was weird. Did I actually stamp that? No. That was weird. I must have clicked off it or something. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have some sea level in between, just so I've got two lots of beaches that have completely different heights. That would be a good test, because that's really what I'm doing here. Oh, two completely different types of beach, because that... oh, hang on. No, I'm not doing... I was thinking I was doing tropical again. So I don't want to do that. There is no beach in the biome that I've got here, so there's very little point in doing that. I haven't done any water line or anything in it. Let's bring that back to the terrain now. That's a bit severe. Okay, and then I'm going to make this one unnaturally steep just because I've got this ridge here and I'd like to see how that comes out. Oh, I clicked apply, not stamp. There we go. Alright, let's just, we had a little bit missing over here. So let's just put an edge on it there. Alright, not a beautiful world, but lots of variety in it, which is what I'm after. We'll just put some erosion in. Going on there. Oh, I'm nowhere. I'm not on the train. That's what my problem is. All right, stamp. Okay, that looks okay. It's not pretty, but it'll do. All right, so let's apply this to the biome and see what we get. So this is with 0 changes from what I was doing on the other world. So what I'm looking for here is a reasonable base from which to work. Remember, I haven't got any grasses in this yet at all. That actually looks pretty good there. I'm quite happy with that. That was my... have I got my ferns and bushes? I have. That looks reasonable. Imagine a whole load of grasses in here. That wouldn't be too bad at all. How are we looking over here? Got a bit of a cliff there. Oops. I left a tiny bit of water in. Well, that's okay. We're a bit bland down here. We'll have grasses in, of course, but it's still a little bit empty. I never put rocks in, did I? That will break that up a little as well. That's nice. That's following the ridge quite well. Happy with that. And the ferns are coming down the sides. They would do that. This actually quite happy with. Oh, look at that. I did it again over there. We'll ignore that. That doesn't exist. Yep, this looks okay. Get those mushrooms in, and now I procedurally place a few mushrooms. Look at that. I've been really clumsy. I've done the same thing over there. If we need proof that that blending is needed, I think my stream tonight is definitely proof that that blending is needed. I think this works pretty well. What do you think? Needs work, obviously, but there's only about 3 hours of work in this to start with, so I think that's pretty good. I'm happy with that. Let's just enable the grass that I had as trees in there and see what we get. Oh, I don't know why I've done the whole spawner. I could have just done the grass. Aye, there we go. Yeah, so yeah, we need a proper grass spawner in here. This looks awful. I remember why I turned it off now. It does look awful. At least breaking up the textures a little bit. But I don't know that it's improving it necessarily. Colours are wrong as well, which is weird because I haven't tweaked any of the colours on the textures. But the placement is fairly good. If we had a decent setup of the grass as grass, then I think we'd do good. Yolan, what do you use for grass in HDRP? Yeah, exactly. That's my problem. And I spawned it as trees, and I've done that before, and it works okay. Obviously, there's a performance hit on it, but that's not a concern for me for these worlds. Um, but the thing is, I didn't spawn them with Gaia. I painted them in, and they looked fine because I had the clumps that I'd created. But spawning trees, Gaia doesn't do the clumping very well at all. There are things I could do to change that, but I think I might be better off just finding a way of spawning proper grass. Now, I cannot pronounce your name or your alias as a symbol. I have no idea what your symbol is, so you are now the person formerly known as symbol. No, that's the wrong way around. Anyway, thank you. All right, so I know Vegetation Engine will do grass in HDRP. Has anybody ever tried it in this kind of scenario where you spawn them in as grass details? Will they render correctly in the preview? In the scene view, rather? I want to remove this grass, it's annoying me. Oh, that's going to remove all the trees, so never mind. I'll have to respawn the trees. Stop that spawning and spawn them. It's light or guang. Oh, it's gone. What? Deleted by the Google moderator team? That's not... I just caught it. It said you were telling me what your name is. Why are they moderating your name? That's not on. I'm looking for settings to see if I can recover it so you don't have to delete it. I mean, you don't have to retype it. Put user in time. No, I don't want to report it. I can report or I can remove it. I can make you a moderator. I'm going to do that. I'm going to make you a moderator. You can type anything you want now, and you can stop the rest of us from typing, so behave. No, I don't know why they deleted it. That's just not fair. But you're a moderator. You can say anything now, so you're all good. But I did catch that it meant light, and there was a few other things that you had there. I can call you light, and unless you want to correct that now that you have all power. Okay, what was I going to do? I was going to put rocks in. I think I want some rocks in here. Nature Manufacturer gives such nice rocks that it would be a real shame to not have them. So let's put them up before the trees. Oops, got caps lock on. Oh, Loki! Hey, Loki! Right, I would have recognised if I got you to the Loki part. Now I recognise you. Welcome, Loki. Alright, rocks. Create a spawn rule. I think... Yeah, I think I probably want rocks everywhere except the steep slopes. So let's go and fit to terrain. Slopes. Where's slope? There it is, in the S's. Who'd have thought it? Invert. Yeah, I don't want it quite that strong. Wrong way. There we... Oops. And then I think I'll put a... Yeah, okay. I think I'll put a concave in there as well. Alright, let's turn the slope off for a moment. That looks reasonably good, but let's make it a bit wider, I think. Okay, and we're going to add that. turn the slope off for a moment. Yeah, that's all right. So what that's doing, you see, is in places like this here, it's adding a lot at the bottom, so they'll come down the slope and rest there. Now, if I had Jenna and was using Jenna, I would be placing my rocks with Jenna. And what you can do with Jenna is you can literally just place them in the air and then let physics decide where they're going to end up. But I don't want to go and mess around with Jenna just yet. And I usually would like to have a scattering of rocks from the procedural to start with, and then go in and add the rest in later. Good evening, Adam Hayes. It is a bit weird. I don't know. It's maybe you mistyped as or something, and it came out as ASS or something like that. But all the same, that's not appropriate. I don't know. It would be interesting to know. I can't see what it was. It doesn't put it in a queue or anything at my side. It's a machine, you know. It's not a person who read it. It's just a machine who went blah. You've switched over to Unreal. It's more stable. Well, I don't know about that. No, I can't agree with that. It's not as stable in my experience. So clearly it's about what you're doing with it, I think. I've had horrible problems with especially at compilation time. Mind you could say that that's because I'm writing crappy code, so maybe that's the case. No, Yolan, you didn't see anything wrong with it either. I certainly didn't. I don't know, that's just weird. Well, after I finish the stream, I'm going to see if there's anything in the archives or anything, see if there's any way for me to get back there, because I want to report that as a false positive, whatever it was. You can't have somebody translating their name and it get deleted. It's just not on. What am I doing? Game object, rocks. Now, the best rocks are in mountain environment, so I'm going to use the first thing from mountain environment here. The rocks in the earlier versions are definitely good, but the mountain environment ones are fantastic. Rocks. Let's pin that. Open up a inspector. And let's go with moss. So they have a cool feature in here. Why? Oh, because I'm in the folder. I was looking for my rock. So they have a cool feature here in this shader. Let me see. I haven't played with it much, and I'll be honest, I didn't even know it was there until I saw Messy Coder's stream, and he was mucking about with it. So let me just drop one in to the scene. Turn off those tools. The preview, rather. Why is the preview not gone off? I'm not on it anymore. Oh, because I've got it pinned. There we go. So now if I have a look at this rock here, I can go into... I thought I'd unlocked it. Why is it... Come on, unlock. There we go. All right, go into the material here. And I can now, somewhere in here, is it the cover mask power? Nope. Somewhere in here I can change the moss on it. Must be up here because that's the moss texture. Amount. There we go. See, I'm changing the amount of moss on that rock. Fantastic. I mean, I know like there's loads of assets that will do this, but the fact that this is included in the in this asset, and you can throw all sorts of stuff. They've got ones with needles, ones with moss, all sorts of stuff in there that you can mess about with. So let's actually spawn some. All right, we can turn that preview off now and drop in our rock. Oh, prefabs. Just put one in for the time being. Oh, I didn't add an instance. There are so many different ways of doing these things inside of Gaia. And it isn't updating the name. So let's do that and let's spawn. Yeah, somebody mentioned earlier, Yolan or Aaron, that I don't know what to call you. Your name's Aaron, but I know you as Yolan. Oh, that's too many rocks. I wasn't looking at that. That's rather a lot, isn't it? And that's rather large as well. I don't know. That's one that I would want to place with manually. So let's find a smaller rock. Yeah, somebody mentioned that the new one had just dropped and that it has a HDRP water shader in it. So that's pretty cool. Let me add a strength transform in here. So again, I add a strength transform in because I can change the strength of all of these at once that way, which is really useful. And again, I let it go and a slight S. Where's my preview gone? Where's my preview for this? Oh, that's no good, is it? Look, if it's too small, it disappears. Poof, it's gone. This is what I mean by that. I just don't think that they have enough people actually working on the tooling. So let's try that again, and then I'll change the prefab to something more appropriate. Well, that isn't good, is it? I didn't spawn any. Let's move that up to about 0.7 then. And now I've got too many. That might not be too many when there's smaller rocks. I mean, that is humongous. That might be okay. Let's try and find a smaller one then. Big, flat, ground rock. That sounds like it might be what I'm looking for. Might still be a bit big. There we go. That's more like the kind of thing I'm looking for, I think. Oh, we've got stones with roots in as well. Excellent. Right, so let's go. Start off with small rocks. You like it with all of those big rocks, do you? I definitely want to place those manually and use them to create cliffs and things. For that rock, the cover texture needs to match with the terrain texture. Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. I'm using the mountain rocks, but I think the ground textures are from the forest environment, so I'd probably want to go in and change those. That's a good point. It's definitely a different color, isn't it? It's kind of clashes. I mean, it is supposed to be moss, but nevertheless, it should be close. So let's see what it looks like when we got smaller stuff in now. Let's do that. Just the one rock at the moment, and these are going to be tiny. I think that's one there, isn't it? Nope, that's a bush. We got 75. Should be plenty down here. No. Alright, well, let's do it the old-fashioned way. Go into here. Why is it giving it the name new game object? That is annoying. Those are the small little bugs, or they're spawning under the ground. Those are the small little bugs that would be caught if people were constantly building things inside of procedural worlds. They're really small, aren't they? Yeah, they're tiny. Let's go with something a bit bigger than that. That's better. Alright, let's go with that. So, oh, I should have cleaned it with the spawner, but never mind, it won't matter. Okay, and then let's have them spawning much closer So the surface is another thing that I hate, having to reset this. It's going to be the same for every one of these, but you have to type it in manually. You can't, again, back to the copy thing that was giving Brian a hard time about earlier. Yeah, you put the moss on the rocks with microsplat. Yeah, that has a really good blending thing. But back to what I was saying earlier on, I just never have made the time to go and learn microsplat properly. I've done some quick tests on it, but I always fell back to using complete terrain shader because it's just so easy. But now that that's deprecated, I really have to go and learn it. There we go. They look okay. I mean, the textures not great. I think I probably want to make that texture smaller actually now I'll look at it. You could change the cover texture on the rock to match the grass. Yeah, I could. It isn't actually on this one. I would probably play with the tint rather than change it because it's actually a moss, not a grass. So Loki, got to get a coffee. Yeah, you got to do that and do your work. All right, cool. You got a job as a writer. Nice. Nice one. All right, see you, Loki. All right, so I think I want to go and reduce the... That should be... Oh, I've got it locked again. That should be called base texture, not base terrain. And I want to change the size of this texture. Oh, resources. Maybe bring it down to... Well, let's see what it's like on one, because nature manufacture tends to be pretty... Ooh, no, not one. Definitely not one. You're getting nice and close, it looks alright, but not when you get up there. Maybe 5. That looks better. Still got a bit of banding, but we can get rid of that. That looks better nearer to there. Maybe we might be able to get down as low as 3, actually. Yeah, that's all right. I don't know if Microsplat does it, but CTS used to change the scaling of the texture as you moved in, which was really nice. That worked really well. I presume Microsplat is able to do something similar. Yeah. I'm just reading the Flora comment. I'll come to that one in a moment. Richard says, I think they need to have a new version which focuses on the small quality of life changes. Yeah, and to be fair to procedural worlds, they do tend to do that. I've seen a pattern. They usually have 3 updates which are focused on stabilization of existing features, and then they do 2 updates that focus on quality of life, and then they sell that for as long as they can, or at least till the next upgrade, whilst they're building the next major features for the next version. So I think I've jumped into 2021 a little bit too early. I don't think it's quite stabilized enough, but they do tend to focus on quality of life in their 3rd and 4th, or 4th and 5th updates. As for the Flora system, yeah, I agree. I'm not impressed with Flora at all. That setup that Brian was taking me through before, I don't know if you were, or you've been here throughout. That was ridiculous. Frankly, I'm not doing that. I'm not jumping through those kind of hoops. For those of you who weren't here, you had to create a renderer and configure this, and then apply the mesh and all sorts of stuff. That said, Brian did say that the new version that is due out soon, which by procedural world standards could be any time in the next 6 months, is going to address those problems. So I will reserve my judgment. I know the performance aspects that they're going for in that. They've been working on those for a long, long time, and if they hit the performance that they want to, it's going to be a great asset. Question is, are they going to get there? I didn't mean to do that. I meant to do this, add a new instance. But yeah, I was not impressed with the steps that Brian was trying to take me through, and I know it's hard to explain it through text, but it just seemed like, and then you just need to, and then you just need to, and I couldn't see the end of it, which is why I just went and deleted it and said, nope, not doing it. But I have no grass in my scene as a result, so not quite sure what to do about that. I need grass. I might just go and paint it in with Gina, and then I can do what I want and place it as trees. That actually works surprisingly well. It's what Nature Manufacture do in their demo scenes. All right, so that's with no setup at all. We're going to end up with rocks on top of rocks here. But, you know, it's an iterative process. With Microspec, you use a detail package to add the variation that CTS did. Yeah, I have the full pack, and so I can do it all when I get off my backside and learn it. So I've got nobody to blame but myself there. You went and got a beer. What a really good idea. A really good idea. I should have got a beer. I've got a pint glass of water. Nice curly British pint glass, but it's got water in it. All right, where's my rocks? Let's have a look at some of a variety of rocks. Yeah, these are looking all right. Oh, it does have moss on it. Oops, let's slow that down. Yeah, it's too. It's a different color entirely, isn't it? I need to work with that. All right, but I want to get them spawning well first. Okay, so let's go back over these, and we'll have 0 or 1 of each one. This stuff is really done with Gina, but I want a basic out of the box thing with a single click. What I'm trying to do is to fully automate the generation of environments, and then I'll just leave the machine generating them overnight and select the ones that are most photogenic. And from that, I'll make some of those things that we were showing earlier on, like the Pomodoro stuff. So it's all about speed of getting them out rather than any gameplay elements or anything like that. And then we're going to need to offset these. Probably keep them a little closer together. This is another place where we need cut and paste. I think I mentioned that earlier on. Did I start at the bottom? I did. Okay. I'll just do these ones. I won't put any more rocks in because otherwise I'll be doing them all night, and I can do these in my sleep once I've got the basic setup done. So that's what I tend to do, try and get the basic setup done, go, okay, that's spawning well, and then I add the variety in. So when I'm sitting in a boring meeting at work where I actually have to listen, it's the perfect kind of stuff to do there. All right, that looks good. Let's spawn. Yeah, the white grass that drove you off to get a beer, in the scene, of course, that's HDRP's view. But when you put it in, when I hit play with Flora, it's supposed to just do it for me, and it was far from seamless. So I've still got it called new object 1. Why? I've changed it. Oh, because you have to change it here as well. Hey. So let's have a look. Is it only generating 1? Oh no, there's a few and they're very close together. Okay. Oh dear. It's locked. Oh, it's temporary. We're good. Get off it. Okay. That's not really what I was after, but actually looks okay. I just need to not have them spread around quite so much. It's a bit extreme. What are we doing on the bits over here? I should have plenty up here, I think. Alright, so less down here and more up at the top. Have I got any down here and here? And more in the concave bits. Okay. So let's delete that because I want that to be called the right thing. What? What did I just delete? Help! Thank goodness for Control Z. Alright, rocks. Yeah, I've not got it up at the top at all, have I? Oh, it's there. It's just thin. Okay. Alright, so let's put another slope mask in here. I'm not going to be able to do it this way now. Maybe I could do it with that. Just... No. No, it's going to be too fiddly doing it that way. Yeah, I need to filter out the flats. So give me another slope mask. Turn off the strength thing. Turn off all of these, in fact. Invert that. Bring it down to about there. And subtract. Okay. It might be a bit much. There we go. That looks right. Now, how are we doing up at the top here? Okay, so if I put a texture map in for the forest texture, not a texture map, a texture mask. Oh, I'm on multiply. I want to add. Oh, damn it. That one. There we go. Alright, so if I turn that off, that is doing the job. Excellent. So let's just up that a bit. There we go. Should be getting lots in the forest, less on the flats and more in the concave bits. Although I don't think I turned up the concave, did I? Alright, Richard. Hopefully the flora will work easily soon, as I'd rather not have to use an nature renderer if I don't have to. Yeah, I've bought nature renderer. I've never really used it though. So another one of those guilty push. I chucked it in and it had a bit too much fiddling. I don't know that flora as a renderer should be needed. Right, HDRP is going to do grass. So I don't think it should be doing the rendering. I know they're going after performance optimizations with it as well. And if we see those, then fine, I'll use it. But there are many options for performance optimization of terrain, and I wouldn't be surprised if there aren't some coming in HDRP itself. Certainly I see some evidence of recently of significant performance increases. Alright, where are my rocks? I'm not seeing any in my forest. Where are they? Alright, there's one there. Oh, there are some. That one's up there. Let's have a look. Nope. That's on the edge. I think I need to increase the forest texture, don't I? Alright, let's have a look down here. No, I think I just increased the strength overall now that I've filtered them out. Let's try that. Because I did lower it quite a lot. We're down at 0.7 there, so maybe bring it up to about 0.85. And spawn. How many weird dragons? It's still only 82 rocks. So let's just take that strength transform out completely and see what we get. So what's your problem with Nature Renderer, Richard? It seems very popular, so it'd be interesting to know what your concern is. I haven't changed the height, that's what it is. I bet a bunch of them are appearing underneath the ground, aren't they? Doesn't look like it. Alright. Let's use the strength transform to increase then. And also fix that height thing. Keep forgetting what I'm wanting to type. Okay, spawn. How many have we got? 218. That sounds more realistic. What's going on there? I haven't baked any lighting or anything yet, but that's weird artifacts. That's very weird. Okay, I'm not going to worry about it for now. Bounds checking isn't great there. And you're absolutely right, that moss colour is terrible. I need to fix that. Okay. Yeah, I'm not very happy with these at all, actually. I don't feel like I'm getting these the way I want them at all. Nothing in the forests. Or there, anyway. Yet, if I preview, is a fair amount. But it's lines, isn't it? So that's because I've got that concave in there. So I could use the grow and shrink, but I find that actually crashes quite frequently. So let's just thinking, do I want to do it with area fitness, or do I want to do it with location increment? I think probably location increment to start with. That's going to significantly increase the number we'll hit, so we need to bring the strength transform back down again. Got a feeling that might be creating too many. Yeah, 1047 feels like too many. Yes, definitely too many. But I'm going to leave it like that while I sort out this bounds checking. Normally Gaia does a good job of estimating the bounds. It doesn't seem to be doing it here for some reason. I'm not sure why that is. I also haven't checked for trees, so that needs fixing. And they are, because I'm putting the tree texture underneath the trees, they're actually more likely to go by trees, which is obviously not the effect that I want. Spawn the moss in the textures which have moss. Yeah. Maybe even around the rocks. I wonder how that would work. I've never tried that. Because it doesn't do any true blending, so I'm not sure that that would work very well. It's a good idea. Just taking a look, this is the kind of place that I'd probably put it. You've got some rock coming through. I don't know. I think I'm going to leave fine-tuning the textures until I've got the overall feel right, and that requires the grass, because depending on what grasses I put in, the color of the texture is going to need to be tweaked. And if I put mosses in it, then it's something else that I'm going to have to change at that point as well. So I think I might try that though when I get around to it. I've never thought about it. It's the kind of thing that the texture blending in Microsplat is really good for, right? Okay, let's also change the... I don't know why the default isn't fitness, because you nearly always want to be changing the size by fitness or possibly fitness randomized. I find that anyway. All right, bounds checking. Why have we not got bounds checking happening? Oh, it's right at the end, isn't it? Bounds checking. Bounds check. Here we go. Radius. Okay, so let's make the radius maybe 1.2. It wasn't terrible. We don't want self-collision check, and increase the quality. That might be what the problem is. It was pretty low. Alright, so let's not worry about the trees for now. I think that one's just one rock. There we go, we're looking better. It's just that first one had a bit of an overlap, but I think it was okay. Just maybe we'll leave the bounds radius at that, but maybe increase the accuracy a bit. Let's see what that turns out like. Did it just spawn? Yeah, it did. Oh, of course, because we're not changing anything. It's just coming back in the same spot. Still allowing it to go, but I don't know. That doesn't look too bad. It might even be one rock. No, it's two rocks. That looks okay. So let's see if we find any others. That change of the quality didn't seem to break anything. Where are these shadows or whatever they are coming from? Weird, that. Yeah, I think we're doing all right now. Okay, so we need to reduce the strength of that and stop it appearing underneath the trees. So, rocks. Where's the rocks? There's the rocks. Reduce the strength a bit more. Maybe 0.5. And stop it coming under the trees. So we need a new mask. And it needs to come after the terrain textures, because otherwise we'd be adding it back in again. So that goes there. And we're going to want all of the trees. What would be really good is if I could set up a set of masks like this and then kind of import them. Because the collision mask on trees is nearly always going to be the same. Okay, so what we're looking for is for that area to disappear. So we're going to look for all of the trees. I should have done the other ones first because they're actually the ones that are down here, but I've started, so I'll finish. Got 6 twice there. Lots and lots of clicking, but not anywhere near as much clicking as you need in Visual Studio. All right, so we have lost what? Yep, lost most of it. It don't matter if the odd tree, odd rock appears under the trees. I just don't want many. So let's see if that looks good. Okay, how many rocks did I spawn? None! Perfect. There's none under the trees. Absolutely perfect. Why did none spawn? That's weird. Unable to read from map magic. I don't know what that's all about. I didn't even know I had map magic in this project. Why am I not spawning any rocks? Maybe it's minimum fitness. Can't be, because I was spawning plenty before. That's still applying, look. What's going on there? It shouldn't be multiply, it should be subtract. But all the same. That's weird behavior because I'm disabling it and it's still having an effect. There's something weird going on with that collision. Okay, and have I spawned any this time? No. Yet when I visualize, it is supposed to be spawning. Let me just copy that and delete it. And then spawn again. Still nothing. And put it back in before I forget the setup I had there. Why not spawning? Got no errors. I don't recall changing anything other than the mask that I've just removed. Alright, I'm going to resolve this and then I'm going to call it a night because I'm beginning to get very tired. And all those look okay. And if I visualize, I am seeing what I expect to see. Well, except I'm not actually in the bottom. I should have come in closer. I'm excluding the bottom. That's kind of problematic. Why is the bottom being excluded? It must be the slope mask. Yep. Oy. Okay, so I'm gonna need to allow it to have a little bit of a slope at the bottom there. Okay, can do it this way. There we go. That's better. Solve that problem. Hi, I recently bought Gaia 2 Pro. Still trying to get the basics. I have nature manufacture assets as well. So this is right up my alley. You got a sub. Awesome. Thank you for the sub. I appreciate it. That's really helpful. There is a couple of videos in my channel that you might find useful. One is from a stream on this same biome that I was making last week. I had much more success last week than I've been having this week. I've been hitting all sorts of challenges tonight. And so I actually published it as a video. It's got a fair bit of waffling in the middle of it. I'll probably edit it down to be useful at some point, but I have put chapter markers in to where you get to useful pieces. So it's worth checking that out. It works with the nature manufacture stuff and starts from scratch. And then the other one, I have a series on my Gaia playlist, which is showing you how to build a tropical rainforest biome. Now, you don't have that pack, but it's the same principles. And although in the one from last week, I do use one pro feature, which is the concave. The tropical forest one, I don't use any pro features at all. So those should get you started quite nicely. You've joined us just as I'm trying to figure out what on earth I've done to prevent my rocks from spawning. I was working perfectly nicely, and I've done something that's stopping them spawn, but when I visualize, I should be seeing them. There's none in my scene whatsoever. I don't know whether I've hit a bug or whether I've done something stupid, because I'm getting quite tired. Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. Let me, well, not with the houses. Just thinking the best way of doing that. Let me worry about those rocks another time, because I'm getting frustrated with it. I'm sure I've not done anything, and when I finish this, I'll be able to look back at the video to see what on earth I did that broke it. So what I will do is I have my biome here, and it is creating this environment. So you have like a wooded area and you have some spotted trees and stuff. So let's do what you're asking for. You click on create new spawner in whatever biome you're using, and that creates a spawner here. And then you can say houses, and you're going to need a spawn rule or a number of spawn rules. That's great. I'm just getting to uni and learning this stuff. I'll check out those. Yeah, and let me know in the comments of those videos, you know, if there's anything that's not clear to you or whatever, because I'm not promising that I'll make another video to make it clear, but if I do a stream or something and I think, oh, I could show how to do that, then I can do that and maybe flag it to you. All right, so we created a spawner. We then need to create a spawn rule. And in this case, you want to put a building in. So we'll do it the simplest possible way. We'll go to game object. So we're selecting a resource type of game object. and we'll put the model in a moment. We'll not worry about that for now. We'll first of all visualize where we're going to spawn. So by default, it's going to spawn out everywhere. In this case, I'm using a very small world because I'm just building a test biome at the moment. It's a test world rather for a biome and building, so it's fast if I use a small world. So I need to hit this fit to terrain button. You don't actually have to do it, it just makes it easier to see it. So you decide where you want them to, the houses to be. You're not going to want the houses on ridges like this, right? So you're going to want to exclude ridges. You are going to want them on mostly flat areas like this here. So, good evening.
Good evening.
My daughter's just come down to say hello. Are you done?
Done with what?
Whatever you were doing.
Oh, right, okay.
Oh, right, okay. All right. So you want it on this flat area here, and any other flat areas like this. So we need to set up the masks in order to enable that to happen. There's two places you can put masks. One is on the specifics of the object, and one is for the spawner itself. So you, we're going to put the first one on the spawner itself at the top here. So you click the plus button to add a mask. It defaults to an image mask which you haven't provided, so it blanks out everything. But what we're actually going to want here is a slope mask because we want to put it on the flat areas. And by default, it gives you the steep areas, right? So we're going to, there's a number of ways you can do this. One way would be to say, to change the settings here and mess around with the slope curve. But the easiest way is to say, no, I want the opposite of what you're showing me, which is to click the invert button. So now I have the flat areas that I'm looking for here and here, but I also have too much of the slopes and things like that. So I now need to play with these settings. So if I increase, you can see it's selecting steeper areas, right? So it's increasing the area we select. So obviously, naturally, if we go in the other direction, we're only selecting the flatter areas, right? So we're losing most of the ridges that we talked about, but we've still got some areas that we don't want. Like, zoom in. It's a bit hard to see because I've got the vegetation in. Let me remove the vegetation. I'm going to clear all of the spawns. This is the great thing about procedural generation. You can just wipe everything out and then come back. So these areas here, if we was to spawn a house here, it wouldn't be on the flat ground, right? And so what we need to do is we need to select an area which it has more flat ground around it, so it's going to look okay, like here, right? So we want to exclude those patchy areas, but include that area. And again, there's a number of ways to do them, and you just have to keep playing around. Now, I'm going to be clear that I don't do this with Gaia. I do it with Jenna. And Jenna has special features for doing this kind of thing with. So you might see me struggling a bit to figure out exactly how to do it, but that's how it works. That's how you struggle. I mean, that's how you learn it. So what you're going to do is you're going to go with the... Oh, no, yeah, you said you had Pro, didn't you? Yeah, that's right. You said Gaia 2 Pro, so that's good. You go with the concave convex. Sorry, I collapsed my spawners for some reason. I didn't want to do that. And you see now it's only selecting these areas that have dips. We want to do the reverse of that. We want to say we only want convex areas. So we set it to -1. And now we're getting these ridges, right? But we're not getting... We actually want to exclude the ridges. We don't want to include the ridges because we only want the flattest of areas. So rather than multiply, you can say subtract. So now we've lost most of those ridges. We've still got a few areas that aren't great, but mostly we've got flat areas now. And we can play with the feature size to improve that. Right, so these have gone, and we now have the flat areas here. Now some of these might not be suitable, but those look mostly okay. Down here is not great. I'm not quite sure why we've still got that bit, to be honest. We shouldn't have. But yeah, anything I do there isn't removing that. So that's kind of interesting. Excellent. I'm glad this is helping you, Bit Mammoth. Like I say, I'm kind of at the edge of my knowledge here because I would use Jenna to do this specific thing. So hopefully we'll learn together. It's usually the best way to learn, I find. So I'm going to ignore those bits down there for right now. I just want to get a result where I'm seeing things come in and see what the problems are. So now I'm going to go and find my house. I'm just going to pick one of the ones that's in Gaia. I actually have the full 3D Forge assets in here by the looks. Oh no, I don't. These must be the samples. So let's pick this one. I need to do some work over here first. So this is my spawner object, and I need to add in a resource. So you open up the resource settings. I want a game object. You open up your prefabs. We're just going to add one instance to start with. Open up new instance, and then drag. That's a model, not a prefab. Drag your prefab in. We're going to have only one instance. We're going to allow it to arrive. We're always going to have this one arriving because we only have the one spawning, I should say. And then you can just hit the spawn local button, and we get a bunch of houses. Right? We have a whole load of them, but you see this one? That's where I said this isn't going to work down here, and you can see why here. Now, what procedural worlds do to address this is you see how you've got these steps here. That actually, if I select this object and lift it up, that actually is a basement area. So you can make it spawn at about 0.5 meter, and it'll spawn above the ground like that. And that is a quick workaround to those kinds of problems. So you go to your house. You go here, this is the Y offset, right? So we're going to want it to spawn higher than it is, because this on these models, this is 0. So what we want to do is not spawn a little bit below the ground, because that's lowering it down. We're going to say spawn at minus 0.5. And if we respawn now, I didn't get it right. What did I do wrong? Let's just spawn this. Oh, it should be plus, not minus, because we're dropping it down into the ground. We want to bring it up out of the ground. Right, so we're going to spawn it at 0.5 meter up. There we go. See, now it's come up. And although it's not great, because the steps don't look perfect, it actually now isn't floating up on the ground in any way. If we go over here, same thing here. It looks a lot better. But if I go around here, where's the door? There's the door. We've now got the door is appearing below the ground. So this is one of the problems with spawning things dynamically like this. You can mess around with all of these filters and masks to only get an area that's large enough. And you can eventually get it right, but it is very, very fiddly. So what you really want to use is Jenna, but you don't own Jenna, so I'm not going to demo that. There is something that I want to experiment with, though, because I noticed this the other day, and I had no idea what it did. Terrain modifier stamp. Let's just try that. Let's put in a new stamper, because I have no idea what this is, so I'm just going to try and guess. Add a new rule. Change that to modifier stamper. Okay, good. Raise height. Let's see if we got a set height. Okay, and then we need a stamp. So we're going to look for masks. Okay, let's just pick that one for now. Let's apply that. What I think is going to happen here is it's going to do what Jenna does. It's going to stamp the terrain where this is being placed. So if I then, let's just test that and see if that's what it actually does now. Am I going to undo this, or is this going to break my terrain? Well, let's find out, eh? Certainly a test terrain, who cares? spawn. It broke my terrain. All right, that was not very successful. And this is not a problem with Gaia, to be sure. All right, this is just me typing stuff in and seeing what I get. I think I know what the problem is. That stamp is that I put in is huge. And so what it's done is it's stamped it in a number of different places, and we're seeing a load of noise, effectively noise coming in as a result. Yeah, a bit mammoth. That's definitely not what I want. So you get to learn something awesome about Jenna at this point, at Gaia at this point. You go to the session manager. The one that did the damage is that one, right? So if I delete that, so I know it's that one because it's the last one that I did. And if I now go back into that spawner that created the problem and I remove that, and I go to my session manager again and I say, I'm just thinking, can I, yeah, I can just hit play session. Actually, this is, I shouldn't have hit play session. I should have deleted that terrain first, but no worries. It just means I'm getting two terrains. And what this is now doing is it's playing back everything I have done during this session in this scene. So it's rebuilding the scene right from the very beginning again, including all the mistakes, because I haven't been through and deleted any things that I corrected by changing the spawner and so on. But I did delete that one that we just broke it with completely. So this will take a little while because I haven't been through and tuned it. But this is a really powerful thing that I have found that not many people know about. You can completely mess up what you're doing and always recover. Unless there's a bug in Gaia, of course. Which is awesome. I should probably do a video just on this topic. Because it is one of the most underrated features of Gaia. I don't know why they don't push it more, to be honest. Probably because if you don't understand that you can completely screw up your terrain, why would you want to sit and wait for a number of minutes for it to do all of this? Having said all that, I have a feeling that we are crashing here because it shouldn't be taking... Oh, no, we're good. It came out. All right. We're fine. So the reason the trees and everything keep disappearing is that's because I've cleared the spawner at that point when I've been working. And so, you know, it literally is playing every step that I did. But now, oh, we're not quite back. There we go. There was the rocks. That's what I started doing maybe an hour ago. So we're about an hour behind at the minute. So Bit Mammoth, I find the initial setup and sessions confusing, but that helps clear it up. A ton. That would be a great video. Yeah, as I say, you'll see those videos in the tropical forest one. It's the most complete one that I've done that, although I haven't placed buildings as such. I need to learn what this raise height thing does. It's a new feature that I haven't seen. I don't know how new it is, but it's new. But here we can see it's done everything except my terrain textures are not here for some reason. Not sure why that is. Oh, I am sure why that is. It's because it's using a new terrain. I'm going to just kill this terrain. I can go back and I can go to my biome here and just spawn it one more time, and it should. There you go. There's my textures. I don't know why the session manager didn't do that. Just one of those things, but easy to recover from. So it's just not responding to me at the minute. It's just loading the stuff up. But there we go. We have recovered from a catastrophic muck-up. I have my grasses in here and I don't want my grasses. My grasses are awful. I need to do my grasses yet. Clear spawns is what I actually want. Clear. Alright. It's cleared my trees as well, but that's okay. So that's how you do a house. Like I say, you need to play a lot with the individual settings, and I'm going to figure out what that terrain setting thing is. I'll go and look at the documentation. I say that with such sarcasm because I very rarely look at documentation, but when I screw something up quite that badly, clearly I need to look at it. Alright, so let me respawn that, make sure I get back without my grasses, and then I'll be happy. Yeah, a bit mammoth it is. I mean, I understand what you're saying. You've created about 50 projects. Brian from Procedural Worlds was in chat earlier on, and I was saying to him, why don't you auto-save my biomes for me? I want them auto-saving. It doesn't make any sense I have to go and do it manually because I'm going to forget and lose work. And he said one of the reasons is that people create lots of biomes and then throw them away. Create a biome, throw it away, create a biome, throw it away, which is exactly what you're talking about. People are experimenting with these things constantly as they learn the technologies. But anyway, here you can see that the trees are avoiding the houses quite nicely. We haven't done any texturing under the house. Let's do that. That I'm more confident with. So let's do that because it's a nice little trick. I've done this on the trees. You see how the trees have different texture underneath them? This is how you do it. So create a new role, and then I'm going to make it a terrain texture, and we're going to put, why are my textures not in my list? Interesting. Should be, but never mind, we can go find them this way. What kind of texture should we put on under here? I'll put I'll go find one over here actually. I'll put a new one in. Ground textures. Let's put I double clicked and now Photoshop is starting up. Let's put stones down. Not the most obvious of things, but we'll be able to see it. That's why I'm putting stones down. Wouldn't normally use stones, but so texture, and we're going to put the normal muck in. All of these other things are used if you're using different terrain shaders and stuff. So you just need the two to get started. We're going to visualize this. And at the moment you see it's picking up the same settings from the beginning that we did up here. So we have those by default, but we need a different one in here. So we're going to go in and we're going to put a collision mask. And we're going to look for the house. Why don't we see the house? We're only seeing the vegetation. Let's see if it's a caching problem. So here. Not seeing the house at all. You should be able to see the house in here. And then let me show it you on the trees. I'm not sure why that's not happening. But if I show you the tree ground textures here, you can see it here. So on this texture, we're putting, this is the one that does this texturing under the trees here. So it's looking for the prefab that is the trees, and that takes the size of the tree from the colliders that are on it, and from the bounds of the tree rather, and then it blends this texture in to give you a different texture underneath the trees. because the tree is soaking up all the water. And you see, Gaia is kind of blending the two together for us fairly nicely. I'm not sure why I'm not able to see the houses. Again, I don't tend to do this with Jenna. With Gaia. I do it with Jenna. There's not enough control in Gaia to do placement of important objects like cliffs and cliffs and houses and things like that. Jenna is fantastic for that, but of course is another asset. So may or may not be of interest to you. It's an expensive asset too, just like Gaia itself. So with that, unless there are any more questions about my failed attempts or semi-failed attempts to place houses, I am going to call it a day. It's very late for me and my brain is shutting down. So thank you very much, everybody who's come in. I think I've had more people with me during this stream than any other stream. So thank you so much for engaging. It's been great. I've not got anywhere near as much work as I do normally, but I feel like I've been having a chat all night. So thank you, everybody. And I shall see you all again one day. Bye-bye.